if you can't release, your stresses, your emotions, if you can't let it out there, I mean, like people talk about cortisol and stress and
Yeah.
everything else. I feel like it can really impact your actual physical health.
I agree.
I mean, obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to really speak to the impact, but just from my experience, yeah, for sure. And not only that, it really stunts your emotional growth.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that it's like you have all that on hold. That's kind of paused.
Yeah.
And life is going on and everything, but you're never really taking this and developing this or getting to the finish line. So I've had most of my personal growth over the last like 12 years.
Dude, I'm excited, man. I'm excited to have you on the new show, the Liftoff Experience podcast. We had you on Real Estate versus Technology. What's going down, fam? We got Shanne on the show. He flew in all the way from, we came from, first off, California, 10 minutes outside of Santa Cruz. Then he flew into Los Angeles with his girl. And then he came in last night with us, and he was an hour and a half shy from fucking some sushi, bro.
Dude,
next time you're coming earlier.
I mean, not only was I hungry, but then you ate my favorite food. I mean, like,
and he watched it on stories. He's like, bro.
Dude, I mean, you even put it out there. I was like, when you're, I don't know, I was like, you're toying with my emotions. I guess I'm not that seriously addicted to food.
Yeah.
But I was a little heartbroken.
He's like, oh, damn, dude. I like that shit, man. I like that shit. But I'm excited because for anyone who's viewing and listening right now, we have Real Estate versus Technology, 450 plus episodes, sponsored by Liftoff. This is sponsored by Liftoff as well. We're at my personal residence. It's literally, we're almost Christmas time. So you can kind of see, let me change the angle here. You can see behind Shane, there's some boxes. So we got Christmas presents to wrap over there. But it's December 20th, man. December 20th. It's 2:39, beautiful outside, man. And I'm with an individual who has just triumphed. He's gone through, a lot of trials, tribulations, ups, downs, you name it, from ex-wife to ex-partner to different companies that he's done with other people that took him to a place where now maybe he had to pivot and shift. So if you're a nice person out there and you want to get in business with someone or have a personal relationship with someone, hopefully you could listen to this episode, setting the intention, and you could be able to be like, man, I can navigate a little bit different, or I can ask different questions, or I can keep my guard up for a certain amount of time before it's time for me to really like let my wall down. So Shane, I guess gonna say, welcome to the show. I know that you're a trusting, loving, caring person, and I feel like that's an amazing trait about you. My wife and I were talking, and I got a friend of mine. His name's Wheats, and he's back in California. And I used to work on my Chevy Avalanche, and this is before I had Liftoff. It's just like personal assistance. Didn't have a lot of money, so I'm like doing everything myself. And he, every single day, he's like, "You're always working on this truck. You're always working on this truck." And he's a Hispanic dude, works super fucking hard, kind-hearted, family-oriented, good dude. And the first thing that my wife and I said after we were dropped off her Honda Santa Fe this morning was like, "You reminds me of Wheats. Like, just a good fucking hearted family man who does no wrong towards anyone else." And I think that all the things that you went through is just gonna add to the story, the keynotes, the podcast. And this is just the catalyst. I feel like one of because you were just on stage, right? You just spoke.
Yeah, it's actually, this year's been the first time in my career, because over the years I've always had opportunities to speak as like a top producer in real estate or entrepreneurship, or that side of things. But this is the first time in my life this year where I've had to speak about, or be vulnerable on stage, talking about life experiences and really opening up. It's just traditionally, especially growing up like in the Portuguese culture, different cultures, like it's everybody kind of has their way of like, it's like you're taught not to overshare, to keep your business private to a certain extent. And so it's, being vulnerable, it's a little, then you also don't want to get emotional. At least for me, I don't want to get too emotional. Like, I'm very transparent, and when I talk to people, like, you always know where you're at with me, but it's like to stand in front of a room with a ton of people and have to be vulnerable. This, I've had a few occasions now this year where I've spoken in that capacity, and it was kind of stressful to get through it, but I've noticed
Yeah.
that it's been way more impactful than because I mean, when you're helping agents and teaching what you've done and success and
Mm-hmm.
everything, that's powerful and that's helpful, but the reaction of people, how I've spoken, being vulnerable, people coming up to you and saying, I needed to hear that, or that
Right.
message helped me. Oh my God, and it's people get to know the real you, or get to know your character.
Yeah.
And so it's been different. And because of the reaction I've been getting,
Hmm.
I'm starting to feel more comfortable
I love that.
opening
I
up.
love that. You know, my wife and I were talking about this, and they said that we were talking about how she saw something, and it talks about like when you have dis-ease in the body, stress, anxiety, and you're holding on to it. And so many people who can relate to this, so many people are holding on to whatever it is. They had a falling out with a friend, they had an argument with the mom, they had whatever that came up. And so with this disease, it turns into disease because your body can only hold on to so much. And I feel like for us as humans to be more vulnerable, it's one thing to like pay a therapist. You're like, all right, I'm going to pay a therapist. I'm going to go talk to this person. This is what they're specialized in, all that type of stuff. And for us as just like people to open up like that, and not need to be, because I'm paying this person who has this degree. It's just like, let's get in front of a stage of, 500,000 people, or let's get on this podcast and just have one person who can just relate and be like, oh my God, I need to go make a phone call. I got to go talk to Dan, or I got to go talk to my mom, or I got to talk to whoever. Cause I just, I walked away and I didn't I didn't have closure. I just kind of held on to the things. And, do you feel that over the years, you holding on to some of the things that's come up for you, do you think that's affected your health? Because because of your upbringing and what you were subject to, like, you don't just share anything and everything with just anyone.
Right.
Right. I mean, you kind of keep that in, and then maybe when the time's right, like if a girlfriend that you feel comfortable with, or maybe a good friend, or you hire a therapist. But like, how do you feel about that? Do you feel like that had any impact on kind of your health?
Well, for sure. I mean, and I think not just me, but I think in general,
Hmm.
just from what I've studied and everything, is that, if you can't release, your stresses, your emotions, if you can't let it out there, I mean, like people talk about cortisol and stress and
Yeah,
everything else. I feel like it can really impact your actual physical health.
I
I
agree.
mean, obviously, I'm not a doctor. I'm not qualified to really speak to
Yeah.
the impact, but I mean,
Disclaimer.
just from you're right, but just from my experience, yeah, for sure. And not only that, it really stunts your emotional growth.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think that it's like you have all that on hold, and that's kind of paused,
Yeah.
and life is going on and everything, but you're never really taking this and developing this or getting to the finish line. And
Mm.
so I've had most of my personal growth over the last like 12 years.
It's funny that you say that, and congratulations on all the growth past 12 years. Is they talk about like when a woman, and who out here can relate to this, when a woman has a child at like 17, 18, really young, for some reason psychologically they almost, like you said, they get like stuck in a time capsule of that time because they have to put them to a side and they have to focus on then this infant and
Mhm.
baby. Right. So that's what I relate to when you said that to me just now.
Well, and you know what? And along those lines, and I recently just spoke with an agent because I mentor different agents, and
Yeah.
just spoke with an agent that recently got divorced. And something I've heard, and I'm sure this happens with men too, but I've heard it with a couple of women that I know is, for instance, one woman, she got married at 19 to her high school sweetheart. She
Mm.
never had like the go out with friends, the single life, to get to
Yeah.
know people, the dating,
Yeah.
like when you go straight into marriage. And I mean, traditionally, like our parents' generation back, I mean, they were
Yeah.
14, 15 years old. That's just what it was.
Yeah.
But when you talk about like this whole stunting or this whole limited, like that's another example. Like
Yeah.
what you said about having a baby, but also people go straight into marriage that never really get to develop their relationship skills.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you dated and you've had different partners, got to know different people,
Yeah.
it can really refine your skill of how to communicate and be a good partner and have a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
Unless you're just, I mean, some relationships, one person's just super dominant and the other person, is just there. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, no, but I mean, if you have people that, because everybody's going to butt heads no
Of
matter,
course.
and if you don't have the skills or the experience of how to get through that,
Yeah.
you never learn that. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like this happens. That's another good example.
I love
from
that.
my experience.
Yeah, well, I love that. I feel like talk about some liftoff moments there, and because we do like to highlight when you had liftoff, and I love the fact. I feel like a good point to put in perspective for people that are living out, anyone who's watching or viewing, is when you do have that stunt of growth, and how you just said, last past 12 years you had the most amount of growth. And do you mind sharing your age?
I'm gonna be 50 next month.
Right? I mean, that's
So
amazing. You don't stop growing no matter how old you are. Age is just a number that I feel like, give these kind of like limitations to, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. And I'll be selfish here a little bit. Like, with this show as well, like I love and I'm addicted to personal growth. I love personal development and personal growth. And I think what I've learned over the years with meeting thousands of agents and Liftoff agent side and building this marketing company is that the byproduct of business is this. It's having a relationship that you can have for life, and going deeper and having experiences. Like, we just got done with lunch, and I had to take him for a ride in the GTR, so he took a ride in that. Now he's like, "Oh, do you want to give me a fast car too?" And I'm like, "All right, I just be mindful." And
the adrenaline's still here.
dude, it was fun, man. It was fun, and we were gonna go for a ride. I was gonna take you tomorrow morning for the gym, but I was like, "Oh, we'll go get some tacos. Let's go do this shit, dude." But yeah, I love that. I just wanted to shine some light on that for our viewers and listeners out there, because I think that the relationships is the most important. And right now, anyone out there that's feeling this in December, I mean, I know we're both feeling it as investors. The market's tight right now, dude, and it's tough out there, and there's a lot of money sitting up, and people are in cash poor, like we talked about. Some investors, myself included, and so I think this is a perfect time to go deeper in relationships and just being like, what, like, count your blessings and be blessed for the things that we have.
Well, that's why I mentioned gratitude. I mean,
Yeah.
the last couple of years, I mean, gratitude's been more prevalent than ever.
Mm,
It's something I was coached on and talked to about for years, but I guess I never got to the point where it was going to be one of those things that you really needed to get you through.
yeah.
It became almost like a crutch, which I just before, oh yeah, gratitude, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
but when you really do think about it,
Yeah.
it was a game changer,
Wow.
especially when, whenever anybody's feeling hopeless or just in a tough time, tough situation,
Yeah.
um, you know, you need some kind of win. You
We
need
do.
something to pick you up.
Yes.
And daily gratitude, that was a big one.
How do
You
you
know,
how do you, how do you navigate daily gratitude in your life?
for me, it's at bedtime. I
For me,
like
it's
to.
in the morning.
Okay, so for me, affirmations in the morning before I work out.
I like
So,
that.
so I have a notebook in my nightstand drawer,
Okay.
and I have stuff I've written. I mean, shoot, the affirmations that I read today,
Mm-hmm.
you can change them over time.
I love
But
that.
there's some. In fact, I was kind of laughing to myself earlier this week before I left town because, I realized just at a random memory, I realized that the one page of affirmations that I look at, I've had that same like page since before some of the big things that have happened,
Wow.
and those are still meaningful, and those are still things that I live for.
Okay.
So it's nice to see that you got to a certain point in your life where the stability and your focus and your determination, like, I'm not trying to, some people they're trying to find themselves, or
Yeah. Yeah.
who am I, what am I, where am I going. One thing that I've taken, just really, I guess, caught my attention was the fact that, look, I'm still, affirming the same things. I'm
Mm.
still going. It just, obviously over time, with technology and changing and
Yeah.
our world changing, there's going to be some refining,
Of
but
course.
overall, I just, so yeah. So for you, then, you do gratitude in the morning. Do you do affirmations as well, or?
Affirmations, I would say affirmations come and go from the perspective of, like, I was like watching something and there's like some 5 affirmations. They say if, like, you keep saying them every single day, then you can change your actual not just like your thought process, but they were talking on a deeper level. You can change your how do you say it, physiology or whatever it's called. And so I was like saying them, and I love them, but like, give us some context on the affirmations that you kind of go over.
Well, I mean, like, look, I mean, what people are treating it as now is you keep hearing people talk about manifestation. And
Yes.
remember when The Secret came out, how The Secret was this big thing.
Yes.
So, I mean, essentially, affirmations are essentially what you're manifesting.
Mm.
And so, I mean, it could be super specific or it could be super generalized, you know?
I love it.
And so you just, I mean, look, I don't mind sharing some of it, but it's realistically, like, if you look at my notebook, I have like a few pages and they're just written out like,
Okay.
I want to have X amount of, money coming in passively, whatever each
Yeah,
year. I want, this is where I want to live. This is what my family structure is going to look like.
Okay.
This is,
Okay.
it's
Okay.
just, you kind of just have your different categories. And the thing is, like, look, I mean, and me, just, I mean, we've
Yeah.
gotten to know each other. We
Yeah.
haven't spent a ton of time together in person, but we've gotten to know each other. And that, I'm not, I mean, yeah, I want to make money and be successful, but that that's not my
Yeah.
drive. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's like, look, I guess what I want to put out there when we talk about manifestation, especially after what I've been through with my health and everything else, it's like, it's these affirmations, it's across the board. Like, it's
Mm.
not just, people always assume that we're in business. Oh, it's money. No, it's your health,
Yes.
maybe you've always wanted to travel to certain places. Maybe you want
Mm.
to put it as part of, like, you want to manifest that, hey, I
Yeah.
want to do this great, 3-month European excursion that I want to put together and actually make it happen.
Yes.
Like, so it's just not just about money.
I love that. Okay, so now you got you back on track, because at first I was thinking about the manifestation and then the affirmations, and like they're very much linked. So
For me,
yeah, because in the morning what I do when I do a red light therapy, so I do like the Wim Hof breathing. You guys can check it out on YouTube. It's like 11 minutes and there's 3 different rounds. Pretty cool. And then I do the red light therapy, and then every morning my affirmations are like, I want to have deeper connections with everyone I come in contact with, right? Coming from love.
yeah, I love that. I love that. That's huge.
Like my first thing.
And I love people. I can totally relate to
Dude,
that.
second thing is 180 pounds at 12% body fat. That's the second thing that I want to do. So connecting, love, and then personally, like how I look and feel. And then I want to be 100% debt free, right? I want to bring in, like, in the short term, like right now, our goal is like 57, I think it's like 56 now, agents on the startup plan, just website only, right? And so that's an extra 200 and something thousand in one times, and an extra, like, I think it was like 12 or 13,000 on a monthly recurring rate basis. So I'll say that. And then, like, selling the Tacoma that I have, because I just bought a new TRX, and like that's going to weight off my shoulders so I can really focus on the new truck. And then the two, like, we have 2 flips, want to get those sold, and then got some things I want to do on the house, like I talked to you about, right? Some cool things. It's just, and it's fun, because I think that what people miss all the time, not all the time, but a lot of times what people miss is that they get so caught up in, okay, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get a job, I'm going to go to college, and then I'm going to get my degree, and then I'm going to meet my life partner, and then I'm going to get a condo, and now she's pregnant, so we're going to get engaged, and now we're married, and now we have our house, and we get our dog, and we have our kids, and then we get our career, and then we pay off the debts that we had from basically the debts from the school. Well, that's like I feel like the traditional way, and people forget that, like, you don't just have to schedule 3 or 4 trips a year, and that's why, like, I was excited for you to come, because it put things in perspective for me, as far as like when you said something to my wife. I was like, man, like, Shane, that was cool, because, and I talked to my wife about it, and she's not like, she reflects, but it's different. And I was just like, hey, honey, like, I just want to reiterate that I appreciate Shane being here, because it put things in perspective as far as our relationship. And it gives us some time to slow down and remember what we have here. So I really appreciate that you're here, because that put things in perspective. And then getting to share the GTR with you, or the little RC cars, or the new TRX, or my wife's car, or the gym.
I'm a big kid like you. I mean, we can get lost every day,
right?
do out in the desert, do whatever. Like,
we're supposed to shoot after here too.
Yeah, but no, like, look, I mean, you don't, and you probably hear this before, or you've heard this many times. It's like, well, there's a couple ways to look at it. Obviously, we're not going to look at the dark side, because people always say, yeah, you don't know what you have till you lose it. But we're not even talking about that.
Yeah.
We're going to talk more about the angle of, like, when you're in a situation,
Mm.
you don't really even know till it's someone on the outside that can see what's going on.
Yeah.
And if you've only had the experience of what you have in, and maybe you don't see a lot around you, you didn't really know how good you have it. Like,
amen.
I mean, the other thing too is I'm really big on energy, right?
Yes.
And thanks for sharing your home. It's great, your home studio, your Airbnb. I mean, I appreciate being here, but it's like the energy. Like, you have such great energy here.
Thanks
for
bro.
Walking in, and then just your whole family dynamic, and your daughter is so cute. I mean, it's yeah. I mean, you really have a good thing going, and the thing is that you've obviously had a lot of success with your business. But I guarantee you, if things weren't this good on this side,
yeah,
you wouldn't have the other side.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not, when I was getting out of college, the side that was just obsessed with, I got to make 100K. And in the early 90s, that was still a lot of money.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So it's like, I want to make 100K. I was like, it's so focused. That was like all of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now with life maturity and life experience, like, want to have a really great family dynamic.
Yes.
Want to have the health, want to,
yes.
really the fitness, like you have your fitness
yes.
goals. Like, it's it's all the spokes in a wheel. Like, you know, like I think like for people that follow these different marketing gurus,
Yeah.
like the Buffini thing was the spokes in the wheel. I mean, all the different
Exactly.
coaches kind of have their thing.
Yeah.
And so, and you know this, but I think it's good that people in your circle can come around and kind of, you know, reaffirm or bring to your attention, like, hey, you got something good going. Then I say, open the door for your wife. Dude, I was so impressed. I mean, I'm surprised that how many men have forgot how to be gentlemen.
Yes.
It's disgusting. Like sometimes I open the door for my friends' wives and then they get yelled at. And then I look like, you know, then I look like the asshole. But it's like, I feel it's like, remember I told you the habit?
Yeah.
It's like taking off your shoes when you go in the house. It's like, I don't know how to not do that. And the thing is that years back, I would judge people based on that. But I've gotten better about, number one, it's not my job to judge. But secondly, is you have to understand that a lot of it is an ignorance. And I don't mean like they're ignorant. I'm saying it's not knowing better. Maybe not coming up in a home where they were taught that, brought up that way.
That was me.
Well, that's impressive though, how you do, you know, I mean, so obviously you've developed it, but you see what I'm saying? It's like, I was so quick to judge, oh yeah, you're horrible. But it's like in their mind, they don't even know.
They don't even know.
Like if I walk into a restaurant, like a nice restaurant, somebody's wearing a hat, that annoys the crap out of me.
Yes.
It still annoys the heck out of me. It's not my business.
Yes.
But it just annoys the heck out of me. You know, so it's like, yeah. So, I mean, these are the types of things that, you know, there's standards, right? Or expectations.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, I mean, you're not supposed to judge other people, but at the same time, I want you to understand that, like, when I see other people, you know, doing like kind of what I appreciate that.
Yes, and contrast is huge in life. We all need contrast to be able to see the other side of the coin, and you know, the good to the bad to the ugly, whatever. And I'm right there with you. And one thing that I've learned over the years is like, you know, just accept what is and lead by example, and just show that other person, like, you know, with you and your girl, like, hey, you know, you're doing a thing, open the door, whatever else, and just show them. And, you know, my wife talks about being chivalrous. And so that's something for her. And like, I remember I was dating and whatever and having fun in my 20s. I just, you know, told women straight up, like, I'm busy, I'm growing a company, this is what I'm up to. If you want to have some fun, cool. And then no one really caught my attention enough until I met her. And then after meeting Reds, and she's been on the podcast too, so you guys are more than welcome to check out her episode and get into her backstory with her tea company and all the things that she did, and her divorce and bankruptcy, and she's came back from a lot of shit. And so I just saw that she liked the chivalrous thing, and then I was intrigued because she's a redhead and she speaks her mind and she's successful and she's been on stages for bodybuilding. And I'm not gonna lie, we just had a conversation this last week, and she was just like, honey, like, why is this girl coming up on Instagram or that girl coming? And then you'll be on stories, or not stories, just like your fucking feed. And then next, you know, Instagram algorithm will feed you something, and then you'll get down the rabbit hole. And you could be down the rabbit hole for like 10, 15 minutes, not even that. It could be like 5 minutes. And then they'll feed you more shit to get you to watch this chick and that chick and whatever else. And I have an affection for women because I think they're beautiful. Not so much that I want to like have sex with them. I just think that they're beautiful. And so she called me out on it, and then I had to check myself on that because she's been cheated on and she's not committed to that. And I 100% understand. So, you know, it's always an everyday process, right? It's never, you know, it looks great and we are having a great relationship, and there's still, you know, ups and downs in life.
Well, things will come up, and then, but the thing is, like, look, you mentioned how she's big on chivalry.
Yeah.
And you know that. And that's such an easy thing. Like,
oh my God. Look it up, guys.
Like, yeah, no, being chivalrous is something that's like a lost art, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's an easy one. If your wife, like, if really values you that, then that'll build credit when other things come up.
Yeah.
And then, like, the thing about appreciating women in what she's been through.
Yeah.
A minute ago, I was just talking about the whole ignorance thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is almost like an ignorance of, because in your mind, you're not doing anything wrong because you don't have any bad intentions. You're happy with your partner.
Yeah.
But then you're kind of like, there's a certain ignorance to like, hey, you know, maybe, you know, putting it in the context, how would my wife feel about this? You'll start giving that a second thought.
Exactly.
And so that's part of like when I was saying earlier, like, you know, it's not like, oh yeah, you're an asshole. It's like, if she asked me, I would be like, you know what? From what I know of him and his character and how much he loves you, it's something out of ignorance, not out of maliciousness or, you know what you see? So, and then that's when communication is so important with your partner.
Yes.
That's why, like, what we're talking about, and this all kind of ties together. Earlier, we're talking about people like not sharing their emotions or kind of being pent up or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, they can never really develop that muscle enough.
Yes.
But if you're coming out and dealing with all your stuff, then you become super comfortable being able to communicate with your partner.
Yes. Yes.
Because and the thing is look, for a lot of people, they're breaking the chains.
Yeah.
They're breaking the chains of their childhood.
Yes.
Because no, my dad was all, my dad doesn't show emotion. I'm just giving an example. I'm saying my dad specifically. I'm just saying like, oh yeah, well, my dad never showed affection to my mom or never opened the door, or he was never shared his feelings. We're not supposed to share feelings. The thing is, you get this guy that comes in a relationship with another girl who their family was super loving. They shared everything. They went to church together. They prayed together. They like, so when you get these two together, she's over here like, he's an asshole. But then this guy's like, I was never shown any of that.
Exactly.
And then it's like, she's like, you don't open up, you don't share anything. This guy's like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And so that's why earlier when, I gave the other example about like someone that got married very young that didn't really get a chance to exercise that. So that's like, that just rolls right into like why communication is so important, not just in our romantic relationships, but in our business relationships. You talked about random issue you ran into recently with a client. And all this kind of stuff, can all be resolved with good communication. But the problem is that as much as like, I'm a huge communicator, right?
Yeah.
But you can't make the other side talk.
Nope.
And so I think it's important, well, obviously now you're married and you're good or whatever. But I'm just saying, like, if you were dating or looking to get married, like, aside from like you guys, matching in so many ways, how you communicate is probably one of the most important things for the rest of your life.
Rest of your life, dude. Straight up Liftoff right there. Let's go. Take notes out there, fam. Yeah, how you communicate is definitely something that you have to master, because that is definitely for the rest of your life. And I want to pivot a little bit here, just because I want everyone to get some context, and I want them to be inspired, if anything, from your last 2 years. And you can open up on any subject that you feel is appropriate. And I feel that the last 2 years, and now we just talked about this over lunch, like, you're bouncing back, and your perception on life and how things have shifted. So you want to give the viewers and listeners a little bit of context as far as some things that you went through, some things that you came over, so they can relate, or if it comes up for them, or they know someone that's going through something similar, maybe this show could be a catalyst for someone out there.
I'd love to share, and I'm happy to kind of give some context. At the same time, like I said earlier, this year's been the first time in my life where I've been more vulnerable on stage or invited to speak about.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It's been challenging. The first one I was stressed beyond my mind, and I could pretty much stand up in front of anybody.
Yeah.
It doesn't bother me, but this whole being vulnerable thing has been really hard. But look, when I start thinking about where you could possibly save somebody's life, share your story. I've lost close people to me to suicide. One of my really good friends who's in real estate, committed suicide last year, a year ago this month.
God bless.
And so it's like, it's like, that's enough motivation to push you out of your shell and be like, you know what? You're worried about people seeing you be vulnerable, but look what happened.
Yeah.
Because do you know how many times I go back and think about the last conversation and think, could I have changed something? Could I have done something? And so it's like, if you can catch people just in general that might not even know that they need the message. Like I told you, after one of my talks, this woman came up to me. She's like, you know what? I needed this message. Like,
wow.
There it
was. That was it.
And so it's like, if more people would be willing to open up, it's going to help other people that struggle, because suicide, sure, there can be a certain illness to going in that direction.
Yeah.
But it could also just be someone that doesn't know how to deal with their feelings. And the more everybody would expose, or open up about their challenges, the more that someone's going to find a story they relate to, you could end up saving somebody's life. I know that's the extreme,
Amen.
That's the extreme example, but yeah, for me, look, I'm a real estate broker. I've been in the business for 25 years. My dad's a retired general contractor. We grew up, in the construction business, building with him. Out of college, I went right into mortgage. My whole life's been dedicated to, real estate, construction.
Yeah.
And, financing. Anything house. That's what I've always done. And look, when you're successful, and I've really worked hard, and I've always been, I hate to use the generalized top producer, but I've I've always done pretty well.
Yeah.
Put some good numbers together, and 25 years, regardless of what the market's doing, I've always been adaptable and made a good living.
Wow.
In the industry. However, the thing about, there's a couple of parts to this before I get into a lot of the context, but it's like, look, it's not that you get bored, because I love serving people, so I'm always going to be helping people. But when I look at it from my side for my career, it's like I always want to level up. Like, what's next? What's like the bigger game? Because I love games, right? So it's like I kind of see everything, and I don't mean like a game, You know what I mean? It's like it's a competition with myself for growth.
Yeah.
And so it's like I call it the bigger game, but it's like what's next for me. Like
Mm.
I've conquered, like I've been successful with hitting these goals and doing this. It's like what's the next level? Well,
Yeah.
you know, because you're kind of in the spotlight when you're doing all this business, people always want to approach you like, hey,
Mm.
join my multi-level marketing or join this or come do this. I mean, I get solicited all the time. You know, here, get your insurance license so you could help us sell these securities, whatever. It's like, you know, you get pulled, and then it's like a couple things. One, because I am nice, I want to help people out. I'm a sucker for a good pitch, and they usually say it's like
Ah.
salespeople, right? So, I mean, I've gotten pulled into things like, hey, you should get into these Airbnbs and this Airbnb idea. Let's do this. And so, you know, I got into Airbnbs, which did really well for a while, and during COVID especially, and then it just wasn't going too well in some of the units I had.
Yeah.
Storm damage and the storm and everything else kind of changed the game on those. And then
Yeah.
I had a, you know, someone that worked in my business to help me with my, you know, decorating properties and such, staging and stuff. And she's like, hey, we should open a store. So during COVID, we opened these stores. And, you know, it's like I had so much faith and confidence in this person because they've been with me for so many years. And, you know, I was like, oh, well, sure, great idea. But
Yeah.
it's like, I'm the one that had to take all the risk and invest and do everything else. And then, you know, it wasn't going well. We're losing money. And, you know, they would tell me, oh, no, you know, remember, it takes money to make money. But then I was looking at the numbers and I was like, I started running the numbers, but then I didn't want to cut it and have these people all lose their jobs.
Yeah.
I carried this mess for like what, almost 4 years.
Wow.
Lost so much money, and it's like it became a distraction. I wasn't running it or super involved, but it became a distraction to my everyday life, with real
Yeah.
estate and everything else. It was a time suck. It was stressful. It was one more thing to pay and deal with.
Yeah.
Lost a lot of money. Finally got completely out of all that retail stuff back in March. Got completely all the Airbnbs at the beginning of the year. So I guess what I'm trying to say to build the context is that, you know, I've been successful with the real estate and the construction, what I do here. It just, I've taken these detours because I want to, it almost goes back to my vision when I was young. I've envisioned, it's kind of funny that I'm kind of doing what I envisioned. I envisioned when I was young that I was going to have this big empire of like construction, sales, financing, like all of it,
Yeah.
which, you know, I was going that direction. I started taking too many, you know, detours to try and add too much to
Yeah.
everything, right? And
Yeah.
so it just became overwhelming to where you can't be the jack of all trades, like you're the master of none, right?
Yep.
And so it's like, look, what are you good at? What do you love to do? What are you strong at? Um, Realistically, full service real estate, right? I'm a general contractor's license. I have the crew. You know, if you call me to sell your house, we'll come in, we'll tell you what you should do to get the most money. We kind of like help you flip your house, right?
Yeah.
That in itself is more than a full-time job, and we
Wow.
can do very well with that.
Yeah.
But so getting all these other distractions, it created tension in relationships, created a lot of money lost, a lot of distraction,
Wow.
less attention to what I'm really good at.
Yeah.
But during that journey, you know, from the beginning of COVID, I just ran into a lot of health issues. So going to set the context, I mean, January 2020, I mean, look, well, let's go back a little further. Fall of 2019, single, top of the world, business is going good.
Yeah.
I spent like almost a month in Hawaii, November of 19.
Nice.
I was working out with my trainer at 4:30 in the morning. My buddy, he's a like bodybuilding trainer and stuff. I mean, I was super fit, great shape, healthy, happy. Things were great. Had these great Christmas parties, one for my clients, one for my friends and colleagues at my house. I mean,
it.
life was good. And so January, my birthday's in January. And so like right around my birthday, I was supposed to go to Florida on a business trip and I was started getting sick. I got really, really sick.
Interesting.
It was right before, you know, COVID was in February, but in January, apparently I found out later I had the bad COVID without knowing. I was really sick for a couple of weeks. And it was interesting because from 2020 to now, it became a series of a lot of health issues. And earlier when you're talking about how stresses and everything else, how can that impact your health?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if I think about everything that's happened
Yeah.
with business and these bad business decisions and stuff, and everything that happened with my health, that's why I'm saying, like, I'm not a doctor, but could there be a relationship there? Because I've always been fairly healthy.
Having liftoff.
So it was bad COVID.
Yep.
Right. Then all of a sudden I started putting on weight, had higher blood pressure all of a sudden, which we do have a little bit of genetic high blood pressure. A couple family members on medication. I mean, I'm not, luckily I'm fine, but
Yeah.
But then I took my daughter on a daddy-daughter weekend trip down south. Ended up in urgent care because my face was half paralyzed all of a sudden.
What the fuck?
So urgent care sent me to the ER because they thought I was having a stroke. My poor daughter and her dog are in the car freaking out. Oh my God, my dad's in the ER. They were calling my family. My family wanted to come down and pick me up. We're like 2.5 hours south. And so I found out I had Bell's palsy. It wasn't a stroke, but it took
Wow.
a couple of months. I know that from having that, I met other people that haven't. Some people never recovered. I mean, my face was sagging. One of my eyes wouldn't close. I was pretty messed up.
Looking good now, bro.
Thanks. But
Yeah.
anyway, well, I made a full recovery from that. But then, shortly after that, then I had the other COVID, and which that one I got knocked out pretty quick.
Yeah.
But then, the big catalyst that really kind of sealed the deal for kind of the context you're looking for is, I was doing a broker tour up in Blackhawk on a house on a Thursday, and I wasn't feeling good, but it was weird. I was like, I really do not feel good. I was in the client's bathroom and I collapsed, and they had a stepping stool for like one of their kids to use the sink or whatever. And they heard that thing crack or whatever crash, and I totally just passed out. And I've never fainted or anything. I was out for not very long, and then I got up and I was like, what just happened? And so I drove myself to the ER up in the East Bay. And you're from that area.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're from that area, and I felt safe enough to drive myself. I went to the ERs in the ER for many hours for tests, and look, it was a blessing, right? Because, well, I'll get to that in a second, but they ran tests and everything. Oh yeah, you're fine. Everything seems fine. Then they then, I guess, to finish all the scans, like just to make sure, let's go do ultrasound and stuff. So I remember this short little lady with this freaking that gun thing, for like half an hour, just like poking me everywhere. That thing was,
Oh my God.
it was so annoying, that ultrasound, like
Yeah.
ultrasound gun. That thing was like, I was so uncomfortable, but thank God she was like that, because when the doctor came to talk to me finally to kind of let me know what's up, he's like, okay, well, here's the good news and the bad news. The good news is that we don't find anything wrong with you. It just seems like you're just going too hard. You're dehydrated. You seem like you're just exhausted, sleep deprived. You have a little bit of
Wow.
gastritis. He's like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, oh, real estate. He's like, oh. He's like, so you got to slow down. He's like, but look, here's what we did find though, is we found this tumor on your kidney, and you should really go talk to your doctor when you get back to town. And so, shoot, my doctor referred me to the urologist, and within 2 weeks, I'm with the urologist, and he's like, no, we got to get you into surgery right away.
Wow.
They connected me with a surgeon, and they're like, that's definitely cancerous. Like, we don't even have to biopsy it. Biopsy won't even be that accurate. We're pretty confident that's cancer. And I still remember exactly that moment when I was in the doctor's office with my urologist, looking at him like, look, everybody's family has the different hereditary things. We don't have cancer in our family. So I was like, it's like such a like surreal moment, like everything's slow motion. I never thought I would hear those words. I've had my challenges. And so, man, that was a big like awakening. It's like, holy shit. I've been so worried and wound up about all these businesses and being spread so thin and COVID and everything else. All of a sudden it's like, forget all that noise. Look what's happening. And so, look, I mean, I did all the stuff I needed to do, all the blood tests, everything to be ready for surgery.
Yeah.
And I went through and signed the paperwork. You could die and everything else. I'm just like, it was heavy. Like,
wow.
I really didn't have a choice.
Did you feel that like you had it? Did like internally, like, did your intuition say like, yeah, get the surgery? Did you even have a second to even conceptualize that? I mean,
I've always been the person that feels invincible, right?
Right.
Like, playing sports when I was young, playing football, everything else I've done, I was always invincible. Like, and so it's, I think as you lose friends and family, as you get older, a lot of people die around you, random heart attacks, random things, like, that things can happen. But because that didn't really give me any symptoms yet, it was just something that was imaged. With that kind of thing, if I started having symptoms, it would have probably been too late, because it spreads to your lungs. But anyway, I wasn't really feeling that, but I had no choice but to do the surgery, because he's like, look, you could put it off, but this thing could really advance and it can grow. At the time it was stage 1B. So it wasn't even a late stage cancer. We caught it early.
That's good.
And so, look, I had this surgery end of August in 2022. So like almost 2.5 years ago. And look, it was a game changer. I've never been through such a major surgery. They cut with a robot and with a surgical team. They cut through the front, through your stomach. They make it was like 6 incisions, and they go in. They have to move your liver out of the way, and they use the machine. They cut almost half of my right kidney. They suck all that. They take all that stuff out, and it's like it was almost a 6-hour surgery, and I've never been through a major surgery like that. But it was I was in the hospital for 3 days, and it was I've never had so much like pain or such a large ordeal. But but then I had hospital bed at home too for recovery and stuff in the family room because I couldn't go upstairs. And because of that surgery, you can't lift up more than 5 pounds. You can't do much of anything. You can't
Yeah.
shower.
Yeah.
You can't do a lot for, a few weeks and for up to 6 months. And so,
Jeez.
look, I mean, that kind of sets the table for what happened next. I had a partnership with one of my really good friends that, did a lot of lending. We worked together on stuff and had offered to, build like a little fix and flip LLC with him, even though I really didn't need to partner with anybody because I have everything myself. We just thought it'd be fun since we've done a lot of business together. And that ended up, leading to a lot of just a lot of bad things happen. I mean, really, I got really done wrong. And
Wow.
for just a lot of money. And I think that it was hard while recovering from cancer and, being laid up in this hospital bed and, just having all this stuff in your face and then thinking about all the stresses of like the horrible retail idea.
Yeah.
Airbnbs weren't doing as good. I
Yeah.
mean, it was just, look, I had kind of a reality check with like, look, you just got a second chance at life because
Amen.
you luckily this was found because you were in the
Liftoff,
ER.
let's go. Yeah.
And so it's like, look, I mean, you're not happy with how things are going. Financially, yeah, you bring in a lot of money, but you're losing a lot of money with these horrible other side ventures. So it doesn't matter like if you bring in 5 million or 10 million a year, if you're only keeping a small portion,
Yeah.
might as well make less and keep the same portion. Why have all
Exactly.
the other headaches and because all your quality of life is gone. And so, I had some time to really think about, what makes me happy because this is, and this is just a quick little segue.
Mm.
I started going back and seeing my, therapist I probably saw because the doctors even recommended like, hey, this has been a big thing. You should probably go see your therapist and just kind of really make sure that you're good. And, one of the things that kind of launched this whole thought process of I'm going to narrow things down and cut people out and do all these different things was the fact that, she asked me point blank, she's like, what makes you happy? I looked at her blank.
Wow.
What makes you happy?
Wow.
I was like, holy shit. I didn't say anything because that's how wrapped up I had become in all the chaos.
Yeah.
There was no connecting with myself. Like, in the morning how you connect with yourself.
Yeah.
That connection was gone. Like morning affirmations, like, yeah, maybe it'd work out, some mornings, maybe not consistently, like it, before COVID, like I told you, fall 2019, the balance, the workouts, like everything was just solid.
Wow.
During COVID and all this other stuff, everything went to hell.
Wow.
And so it's like, I realized it's like, holy shit, like I got to change that. Like, what kind of life is that to live? And then getting a second chance at life by catching something that could have been terminal. What are you going to do with that opportunity? Like, what's going to be different? Well, look, I still want to help people.
Yeah.
I got to be smarter about it, but I still
Yeah.
want to. I was born to serve. Like that's who I've always been.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be the giver, the person. Like, and that doesn't make me perfect or a saint or anything. But I'm just saying, like, my personality and who I am, I'm a giver. I'm always going to be a giver. But it's just being smarter about how you're giving.
Yes.
Not being taken advantage of. Not going in
Yes.
bad directions. And then it's like, okay, so for your business, what you're going to have to focus. You can't. This is not going to work. So I started cleaning house. Got rid of sales production team, which was just losing me money and time. Got rid of these retail things, got rid of these Airbnbs. I say, you know what? I love real estate and construction. That's what I've done my whole life. Love transforming properties. Love helping people buy properties and fix up the properties the way they want them. I mean, I love that whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And just forget everything else. So I was going to really focus on that. And so the other thing was people have taken advantage of you, people that don't respect you, people that were so nice that they, quietly were just screwing or taking advantage of you. Like
Yeah.
like the people that are out now that have gone out in the last 2 years, it's like good riddance. I mean, there's people I should have cut off a long time ago, but it took this life event to get it. And I mean, even some people that are, like, look, my immediate family, great relationships, my parents, my brothers, just, I mean, all my cousins, great relationships, but there's some more like, just because people are family doesn't even make them like be, at a certain level. Like someone that's a lifelong friend that doesn't, I mean, there's nothing that is going to weigh the relationship. Like, I don't care if you've known me since I was a kid. I don't care if you're my cousin. That doesn't even matter. It's who was there for you when you went through this? Who can you really count on?
Yeah.
Who actually brings you happiness? Who lifts you up? Like, who are your people?
Amen.
dude, in my entire life, I've never done that kind of like cleanup. Like,
Wow.
but the thing is, you have to understand, it's not in a malicious way either.
No.
I had some serious conversations. One of my best friends, I mean, it was the end of the road, and I had a talk, and I was like, "Look, man, I always love you. You're one of my bros. You know, we've grew up together, and everything else, but it's just like we just don't align. Like, it's just not healthy. Like,
Yeah.
I'll always wish you well and your family and everything
Yeah.
else, but like, so it wasn't like, oh yeah, I hate you. We don't connect. Whatever. It's just there was certain conversations that were had because it wasn't that I was trying to avoid. I mean, look, the easy ones were the people that I stopped reaching out to, and they never reaced out. Oh,
Yeah, I've been there.
that was easy.
Yeah.
What am I worried about?
Yeah.
That was really easy. But then the ones that were reaching out, like, oh, I haven't talked to you. We haven't done anything. We haven't hung out. It's like, you know what? I'm taking care of me, and I just, so I did have conversations where I had to, because look, I've told you from the beginning, I'm very transparent, always very honest, and I don't fake it.
Yeah.
You always know where you're at with me. And since you've known me, you've always known where I'm at.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
And you could ask me and I'll tell you. And
well, that's why I called you to
ask
ask
me.
you. Where you at, bro? You coming out?
Yeah.
Like, I'll pick you up. Like, you're gonna stay here. I got a couple meetings. What's going on? So,
but you see my commitment, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I said, yeah, I'll come, and I came, right? Because you probably have people tell you, oh yeah, I'll come, or I'll.
Yeah, I always put it out there. So, like, just side note, I tell individuals that think that'd be good for the podcast, like, hey, we have an in-person studio. If you want to come in, like, this podcast is for this type of conversation. I haven't had anyone online. I do have someone who's going to be online who's in the real estate space for next year. And so we'll do it online, but that's like 95% is this. So that's why I appreciate you flying out, coming on, doing this, and being a part of this.
Well, I'm happy to. And like, look, let's talk about the other side of this. I mean, look, this is kind of setting the table for these are the events. This is what happened.
Yep.
Like, this is what happened to me. I mean, everybody has what happens to them. Like,
of course.
I'm not trying to compete or compare with anyone. This is just for me in my entire life. There's been challenges over the years. I mean, I spent my 40th birthday in bed with a herniated disc in my neck, C6, C7. I mean, that thing was almost a year with physical therapy. So it was brutal injury. I mean, I was in bed for like 3 months. It was horrible. And so it's like, I've had my moments, and I'm sure there's people who've had worse, like, and so it's not a competition. It's like throughout life, things will happen. I mean, this wasn't the first, this was just, for me, this was the worst stretch ever. And it was like a whole, like, just shitstorm because it was health and business and COVID and the world shutting down and everything. So let's talk about the emotional side of this, right? We've been talking about kind of relationships, results, like choices, everything. But I mean, how about your headspace? Like, I mean, I was worried and was really stressed out about going into surgery. I was really stressed out the morning I got there. That all worked out. I had a great medical team. So thankful for them. When I got home in the hospital bed and I was recovering, that's when all the thought process started. But then that's when some of the bad things happened with one of the business partners and started getting hit financially pretty hard. Being betrayed by people that were like family. I'm very big on principle.
Yeah.
I think for me, what's shocking is that the things that have been done to me that I would never do to somebody.
Yeah.
Because see, one thing, because remember we talked about always learning. One big life lesson for me after this surgery was to stop putting my filter on other people.
Yeah.
Just because I wouldn't do that.
Yep.
Doesn't mean that people don't do that shit.
Yeah.
Friends, family, whoever.
Yeah. And life happens for you, not to you.
Right. And I think I reminded you that one earlier, right?
Yeah.
But it's the thing is that what an ignorance I had in thinking that was always going to be my guiding light.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, this is fine because they won't. Yeah. They not only will they'll fucking give it to you.
Yes.
Sorry, I dropped that phone, but
you're good, dude. I mean? You're good.
But I'm just saying, like, the impact and all the emotions. Like, I'm not violent, right? I'm not a violent person, but you got to understand, like, they talk about when you kind of, push like a dog into the corner, bear into the corner. I mean, if you keep prodding an animal, it's like for me, it takes a lot.
Yes.
But it's like, I was at a point where I was having a lot of thoughts, like not criminal thoughts, but just a lot of anger and wanting vengeance and just like
you're holding all that in, man.
And
You've
then
just been taken advantage of left, right, front, and center.
And then the depression too, like just this, not medical depression either, just straight up like depression.
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's people that I have friends that struggle with medical. I'm talking about just like being in a very dark place.
Yeah.
Because I mean, look, it's life can be a roller coaster. It's like, for me, I went through a costly divorce during, right before that whole real estate crash. And, I've been through some really tough times, but I mean, this ride was to like a whole new level,
Mm.
not something I knew that could happen or that I could actually experience. And so,
Wow.
it was really hard I put on a lot of weight after the surgery. I couldn't keep working out. I couldn't be active. I could walk. I started being able to walk. I was allowed to walk around the block, do different things. But it's like family and friends were bringing over all this different food. I couldn't really get up and do a lot. It was a really tough time for someone who never stops. I never stop. I'm always on the go. Having to be stopped was really, really hard. And so it gave me too much time to think too. And the thinking did help because it gave me the direction to put me on the best path ever, which I've been on now. But I guess what I want to say is that I was feeling a little hopeless, a little helpless,
Mm.
about 4 or 5 months after the surgery because I was overweight, out of shape again.
Yep.
After having been in the best shape 5 years before.
Yep.
I just, cash wasn't flowing because I wasn't working much. I just gotten ripped off.
Yeah.
And I hadn't been spending as much time on my sales business because I was doing so much with the investment flip business.
Yep.
And just all these different things that were happening and all the betrayals of like some of these other business partners and these other businesses and everything else. I started wondering how I was ever going to get through it or get out of it or just get back on track. And, it was interesting because my doctor actually sent me to a neurologist
Interesting.
because he's like, look, I mean, he's like, he's like, I can only coach you so much. He's like, I know you've gone to talk to your therapist and stuff. He's like, but he's like, you know what? I have an idea. Let's go see this guy. And what a game changer that was.
Really?
That was about a year ago. And you don't understand. This is fresh. Like this whole transition
Mm-hmm.
of being really on top of the world again and just, really rallying.
Mm-hmm.
The big catalyst was really over the last year.
Wow.
It's like once I set my mind to it, it was go time.
Let's go.
Wasn't you because I make it sound like it was probably like a 5-year process. No, this is something that
Yeah.
really I just made a decision and got the help and went for it. But no, the neurologist, made it clear that ADHD, which I knew that, but he just really helped me kind of think about it and talk about it and really structure in my mind, what the reality was of what I was going through, what I had been through, and also giving myself grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other aspect was that, and something that's always been hard for me. So, like, look, you probably do a lot of reading because I know you like to improve yourself and self-help and everything. So for me, I've always been the instant gratification guy. So look, I'm going to pause a sec on this just so you understand this. So I've read a lot of books that talk to me about just a little bit each day will get you where you want to go. Because I always want it today.
Yeah.
That's just how most humans are built that way. Especially hardworking like entrepreneurs that just want to get there.
Yeah.
And so honestly, I started kind of reflecting on all this reading and all this that I've done. And I realized I was going to be able to apply this to this stage of my life. And I'm talking about like books like The Compound Effect.
Yep.
Chop Wood, Carry Water.
Yep.
Pound the Stone.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of, there's a lot of
ton.
books. But those books, you can see how impactful they are. I remember their names. Like, because I'm not good at remembering titles and stuff, but those were impactful books for me because it made me remember, even like if it's your weight loss journey, just a little bit each day. Like, and enjoy the journey. We were talking about that earlier. Enjoy the journey. So I started realizing this when I was with the neurologist and going through all this stuff. I was like, you know what? I was like, look, it seems so overwhelming right now. And I seem so far from all these goals.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm going to go back to what I know. So first off is start practicing that gratitude again. Because I think life sucks. Like everything sucks. Everything sucks. When you actually sit down and think about it at night, it's like,
does it?
Thank God for my health.
Yeah.
Like I'm alive. I survived a major, possible catastrophe.
Yeah.
And, look, I have a roof over my head.
Yeah.
I have food.
Yeah.
I can eat. Like just simple, like
yes.
super simple things.
Yes.
I have a daughter I have a daughter that loves me.
Yeah.
This cute little dog that's always within 3 feet of me. Like just animals, like your companion, like just little things. And so then I thought, okay, from the exercise perspective, the doctor's like, hey, probably let's get some testosterone. Let's get you to let's just give you a little boost, just get you back on the horse. It's just started lifting, started getting stronger. And it's like that muscle memory, you start coming back, and then the exercise, just, put one foot in front of the other, start going just a little bit each day.
Yeah.
And then the positive, affirmations rolled in. And then once I started feeling confident and positive, then of course, being a great salesperson, like, people have always been attracted to my energy. I'm always the one that's all fired up no matter what.
Yeah.
And I went out there, and even if I was competing for listings, I mean, people were a little depressed this last year, the way the market was and everything. Clients would be like, oh my God, like, everybody's over here, like, kind of depressive. And you show up and you have us excited. Like, we want to jump up and down. Like, clients would tell me, because I was so fired up. I got myself back to who I was. But look, I mean, for me, a couple things happened. One is, I had people in my circle that really pushed me to get my health back and get in shape. And, I have a couple of people in my inner circle that really pressed me to be the best person I can be and to really take care of my health, work out, eat good. And so it's like, I was able to lose, because I've put on some muscle and lost fat, but I mean, I lost on the scale about 45 pounds.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thanks. Since last December.
Let's go. Liftoff.
And then in June, this June that just passed, I was able to, because I still produce myself. I don't have a team. I'm a sole producer.
Yeah.
And I do have a downline of agents I support and I mentor. But on my own production, I was actually able to be number 10 in the country for EXP. It's about 72,000 agents.
Wow,
in
congrats.
June. And I mean, and you know me, I'm a humble guy. I'm not the guy. The whole point of this is that was such an emotional victory for me. Those two things were like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I did it, but it wasn't even as slow as like these books, right? Like, when you think about it, I mean, the weight loss was a year, and the production was about 6 months. It's like, holy shit.
Oh, and think about the instant gratification. What is it? The perception of time is in the eyes of the beholder. So like, time goes by like that. My daughter went from freaking infant to 6. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we've been in this house for 4 years, and we wanted to do this and that and whatever, and it's here, and now I'm sharing with you, right? So like, and you're sitting here right in front of me right now. We're doing this podcast, and you're walking, you're talking. We just had lunch. Like, like, I wouldn't know that you just went through all that shit unless you even told me.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is when I started getting out there, people were wondering where I'd been and stuff, because I've been kind of, between being shut down for COVID and then everything I went through.
Yeah.
I'd seen a lot of people in ages, and I've always been so social and so out there. But I mean, people literally tell me all the time, it's like, you had cancer, or you had, like, they expect to see someone with like no hair and just all like shriveled up or something.
Yeah, there's all different types.
And I just, and I'm just like, look, I mean, yeah, it was tough. I got lucky that it was cut out. I didn't have to go through a bunch of, chemo treatments.
Yeah.
Because chemo is devastating. My friend, people I know that go through that. I was lucky to not have to have that part. It was major surgery. But I mean, look, and now these 6-month follow-ups to go do CT scans and blood and all that stuff, it's a hassle, but it's worth it.
Yeah.
I'm alive and I'm lucky.
Yeah.
Instead of going in for chemo, I'm going in to get tested every 6 months for 5 years to make sure nothing comes back. And I'm happy to be doing that.
Yeah.
Happy to, whatever it takes. But then the other thing too, as far as, like, looking healthier, like nothing happened, is leveling up on how you take care of your health.
Yeah.
This is one of those eye openers to remind you.
Yeah.
Do your checkups.
Yes.
Go get your physicals. Like, go, like, really pay attention to your body. And because, like, this cancer didn't have any symptoms. So I got lucky that I passed out and I ended up in the ER. But it's like, it reminded me that I should have been doing more testing, more physicals, more aware. Like you said, time goes by.
Yeah.
You get so busy. I didn't realize I had missed my physical for 2 years.
Wow.
I rescheduled one, and they're so busy they had put it out. And so, like you said, time
whatever.
just goes.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you got to make an effort. So I think that I guess what I want to say about, being able to bounce back or come back from adversity or things that happen to you in life is that it has to be a very strong mindset.
Yeah.
There's not going to be anything that falls into your lap. There's no magic pill.
Yeah.
There's no shortcut.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It's not I'm not going to seriously, it's not easy.
Yeah.
You have to, like, and I guess part of my personality, I've always been extreme. I'm like the first day of, like, Aquarius. So people that are into astrology are always being like, yeah, you guys are crazy. Because I mean, that's the thing, is I do get obsessed with stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be the best at anything I love. I want to be the best at it.
Of course.
Like, if I'm not good at it, I don't want to do it, which is kind of a bad thing too, right?
Yeah, that's true.
But
that's
it's just, I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it happen. And I have that mindset. And as a mentor and trying to help other people, I'm always trying to enforce that, it's in your mind. You can do it. You got to believe it. And it's hard because, then I feel like the weight of people not doing it and not being successful.
Yeah.
I was trying to wear that as well.
Yeah.
And then that's another thing I learned when I wasn't putting my filter on people that were screwing me. I also started putting my filter on people that I was trying to help and like not carry the guilt or the weight of them not doing it.
Yeah.
Everybody's on their own journey.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to do things at their pace, what they need to do. If they come to you for inspiration or for help or mentorship or whatever, then, give them your best effort, you know. But at the same time, I do have some qualification. What I tell people all the time is, oh, you're busy. You don't have time. Look, I'm busy. But if you're hustling, you're working hard, you're doing what you can, and you want me to help you, I'm here for you. But the people that check out for months at a time and then show up all of a sudden and want all my time, I don't have time for people that are not willing to invest in themselves.
Yeah.
Because
consistency.
Well, if you're not going to invest in yourself, I mean, if you're not willing to do the work, then why am I going to waste, my time? And so I am a stickler about that. But look, I think that, different people everybody handles things differently. Some people have to get to absolute rock bottom before they ever have an awakening. Yeah. Some people, unfortunately, rock bottom means suicide or other bad things or drug addiction or who knows. Yeah. Like everybody just kind of finds, but it's like, look, if I can inspire, anyone to actually, number one is really, take care of themselves and their health, right? Like that morning routine that I've always had that I kind of got off track a couple times in my life is really have that morning routine where you have your own time to yourself. Yeah. Mentally to reflect and then get in that workout. Look, I mean, with ADHD, and you can look this up, the doctors will tell you this, the best treatment for ADHD is to work out in the morning. And it's funny because salespeople, a lot of them do have ADHD. It's kind of a personality trait. Yeah. Of, my
wife has it. Yep.
Yeah. So it's like, just deal with whatever your challenges are. I mean, people have other types of health issues or attention, whatever. But like, look, I mean, for me, like if you have ADHD, work out in the morning, have a routine, put in time for yourself, and then really check your health, monitor your health. And then look, when you want to be successful, and I've heard this from different coaches over the years, and I knew I blew it when I got too like diversified. Yeah. Anyone you talk to, like I'm a big fan of, like, for instance, even Ed Milet, he'll tell you, it's like, you take one thing, you get so fucking good at it, the best, and you run that thing. You run that thing to where you're like at the top, and where you're solid, financial reserves, like investment, like you're fucking solid. At that point, if you want to venture into something, that's fine. But what's happening right now, and we'll talk about real estate for a second. What's happening is that, we all look for the shiny objects. Yeah. People want that shortcut, that magic pill. Like, what can I? Yeah. And all of that. It's almost similar, like with me going to these different business ventures along with real estate. You have to focus, and it's freaking doable.
It is.
It's doable.
It is. And, I got to say that, not so much for me, shiny object syndrome, as much as like just wanting to diversify and help my wife. And so that's why we got in the fix and flip game. And it's one of those things where, like, thank God I have Liftoff, because if I didn't have Liftoff as sponsors of our show and the income that I have from that, then I couldn't be able to float these properties. And guess what? We would lose them. There's no way we could just pay $1,000 a month for nothing. Well, to hold the debt. Right. It's not even debt, just to hold our cash, and these properties, they don't allow you to sublease or do anything. So it sucks, and it made me think like, fuck, like, do I even want to diversify? Because if I was to just do fix and flip, I mean, for anyone out there who's watching and wants to get into fix and flip, definitely be careful about if you're doing 55 plus and if there's lot rent and like how much cash flow do you have, and you could lose your ass quick.
Well, look, I just kind of talk a little bit about that. Like I've always wanted to write a book. Finally wrote. I'm coming out in a book that I wrote. Really? One of the chapters should be out in a couple of months. And in fact,
let's go.
Just on the podcast with these guys this last week. But like, look, one thing I talk about in there is like the fix and flip strategy and experience and everything. And that's the big thing. Like right now, how we're talking about focus and what you're doing with your business and if you're going to diversify. So like, look. You at least looked at the numbers and knew what you were dealing with. I think that we're all going to make some mistakes at first. Yeah. Like if you had come to me and said, hey, I want to do this, I would have supported you because you got in financially with what you could afford and you made sure you could handle it. Yeah. But what I would have said to look out for is remarketability. When you're, say, 55 and over, your buyer pool is so small. So small. And so, but it's hard for you to see that when you're in it, because it could have been very well me. You could have been telling me the same thing, because I wouldn't, because I would be in it and you'd be like, hey, bro, you should have. And so, but the good news though is that, can you imagine if you didn't have your finances and you hadn't done things the way you were supposed to, you could have been in a real bad situation.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So at least you'll be able to carry it. And I'm sure you're going to end up doing fine with those. But I mean, like with this book that I write in this chapter on, it's, I go into a lot of the strategy and how to evaluate the flips and the projects and everything else in order to, minimize the risk and and to get the return. Because like, look, for me, I'm okay with doing some flips on the side. I've done that even when I was a mortgage broker. I think that I think for me, like holding the line in my business is really holding that real estate line. That's like my main line. And then the supporting construction we do on the properties, that's the line I need to follow. And it's okay to do these, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm talking about where I can get into trouble is getting into too many businesses.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, at least you're organized. You have your business, your wife has her business. You guys kind of help each other in certain aspects.
Yeah.
You tie in the podcast, which is kind of part of the marketing and everything else. Just like I have a podcast too with Michael.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, we're set up properly. It just, now it's like staying focused.
Yeah.
And not, because, obviously I've been doing really well and, people reach out all the time. Oh, you should look at this, or you should try this, or now it's like blinders. Blinders for sure.
I was pulling a lot of different directions into my 20s, and I got to a point where I was just like, no, I'm not doing it. Because, I even looked at it like this as well. Because, like, I know I could have potentially, a lot of people ask me, like, why didn't you get a real estate license? Oh, why didn't you get into insurance? And, like, I just knew for me, I was like, no, I really don't want to, I don't want to go in those directions, because I know as a salesperson, if I wanted to be selfish and I wanted to be a multi-millionaire, I can go in a fucking insurance world and I can crush it like nobody's business because of what I've done. Just building nothing, like building a marketing support service for real estate professionals, building a team overseas in the Philippines, and then flying over there and building these relationships, and everything being virtual, not having a specific office and all this shit. Like, I could go do that. But for me, I'm like, what makes me happy is serving people. Like, my legacy is what others will what they will be reminded of, how I treated them, how I showed up for them, the opportunities I gave to them, like, and how I empowered others to fucking do more. And not just be mediocrity, not just be 9 to 5, not just be like get a degree and just whatever. You know what I'm saying? And like, that's why.
Yeah, that's where we have that in common.
Yeah. So going back to that question, now if we were to ask you, what makes Shanne happy?
Well, so I determined that, my happiness is still continuing to serve people. And I'm not going to let, the experiences that I've had poison that.
Yeah.
It's a learning lesson to be more aware.
It's a different way of serving, because it seems like your thought process was, okay, I'm going to serve and support, but your serving and supporting was getting into bed with some of these people with like business ventures and stuff like that.
Not being able to say no to all that stuff.
Yeah.
Now all that noise, I don't see it.
Yeah.
And with clients, and look, and here's an interesting thing just to drop back on is, like, through my career with learning, I learned I couldn't be bought about 12, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
In real estate, I learned I couldn't be bought. And then that kind of carried on to 10 years ago when I walked away from a very high dollar listing, where I learned that there was a certain boundary of how I was going to be treated by my clients.
Yes.
And respected.
Yes.
And so those were part of the growth as well, that, it's like, do I want to help everybody? Well, sure. But there is boundaries. Like right now, I just dodged a bullet on this client that we ended up doing a little bit of work helping her fix her house. We were going to take that listing on, but just during the initial stages of helping her fix the house, we saw what a nightmare she's going to be. I dodged that bullet. But early in my career, when you kind of need to take everything because you're trying to build your business to make a living, I would have been stuck in that nightmare. And what I learned throughout my career is that a couple things. One is that stressed me out. That made me miserable. That made me unhappy. Angry, all these different emotions. It cost me money because I wasted too much money dealing with all that mess and everything.
Yeah.
And so I learned that it's okay to be picky and choosy. Some people will still get under the radar. You'll still have bad people show up, but I got better about being picky and choosy. And then the other thing too about not being bought, a couple of examples. One is when I was selling REOs in the Bay Area, there was a rule with my asset management company that the property had to be on MLS for 3 days before we could take any offers. And REOs were so cheap. They were such a good deal back then.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted to buy them.
Yeah.
I'll never forget, like off the 680 up there, just in North San Jose, like on Berryessa, there's some townhouses on the exit there with like triple pane glass, like right on the highway.
Yeah.
On one of those properties I got in foreclosure, on the third day I had 67 offers.
Wow.
Just to give you an idea how in demand, right? So So some of these buyers agents were trying to find a way in these buyers to really get them.
Yeah.
I'll never forget. I was at this little condo in South San Jose.
Yeah.
It was only worth about 220,000. I mean, the bank only paid us 2 points because the asset management company made a point. So 2% gross of like 220,000, like $4,400, right? And then I had my costs too and driving and my time. But anyway, you know, it wasn't a lot of money. But you know, I'll never forget. I went and opened it up before I went on the market for this agent and her buyers. It was like almost like in the movies. They had a briefcase with $10,000 in cash
Really?
in the briefcase. And that was such a defining moment for me in my career. Like, well, not defining overall, but I'm just saying just one of those moments in your career that kind of showed you where you're at in relation to your integrity, your professionalism, your ethics.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, just get us this property here. You know, I'm like
this is yours, and then make sure that we can. Oh, wow.
I was like, no. And then 2 years later, I walked away from it was a, you know, 15 million plus listing. The people are so nasty, super wealthy. Not that all wealthy people are nasty, but these are just people that are super wealthy. They're used to people kissing up to them.
Yeah.
For me, like, look, I put my pants on just like you do every day.
Yep.
I don't get that whole starstruck, that whole you're above me bullshit.
Amen.
I've never been that way.
Nor have I.
But I was really excited for my career about having a listing like this. So I was tolerant at first to put up a little bit of the attitude. I was like, I could deal with them because this is not going to affect me. But the thing is when like you teach people how they should expect to be treated, right?
Yeah.
When enough people are kissing your ass, you're like, oh, I can get away with this because they're just going to kiss my ass anyway.
Exactly.
Well, so this is interesting. So I'll never forget, like, I ended up walking away and canceling that listing. I'll never forget my broker called me in their office and was like, hey, how is it that you've canceled like $20 million in listings like the last couple of weeks? That day that I walked away from that listing and the client literally was like, you're going to walk away from a $250,000 commission? I said, yeah, I am. I realized, I thought about, you know what? Fuck that. You know what? Today it ends. There was this other nasty lady and she was like in her 70s and she was cussing at me, like using F words. I remember I was in Santa Clara. I remember exactly where I was driving. I was pulling over and I was in, I don't know, nice Mercedes with like these nice wheels. You know, those bigger wheels, the wide wheels that come in the Mercedes.
Yeah.
I curbed that wheel because I was so stressed. I pulled over. This lady, she's in her 70s, like cussing at me. I was trying to sell her beach house up north in La Selva Beach. And she's just being nasty. You know, I realized I had those two experiences one day after the other.
Yeah.
Why do I even get treated? Why do I put up like this? Why do I even? Because here's the thing: is I hadn't done anything wrong. I hadn't even done anything wrong. They're just being total assholes, like being disrespectful.
Yeah.
If I had made a mistake and they were upset and I would have apologized or whatever, that's different. These people are just being abusive. They were just used to like having all this money and people kissing their ass,
power and everything else.
Yeah, and it's like so those two moments were big lessons for me going forward. Like. Those are look, I still remember exactly where I was when those things happened.
Wow.
And that really set the standard. That's why I told you, like, you know, like, for instance, in the Bay Area, when there's a lot of competition and you get 120 people through your open house on a Saturday. Yeah. You know, people would abandon their agents to try to get me to double end it so they get my listings.
Wow.
They were quick to like, I'll never forget this one engineer came up to me in an open house in South San Jose. I'm telling you, I remember these moments. As much as I've been through stress and surgery and all this crazy shit, I still remember some of these moments so crystal clear.
Wow.
This engineer according to me in one of the bedrooms. He's like, why don't you want to represent us? Like, don't you want money? Don't you want to make more money? And I looked at him, I said, no, I'm happy serving my sellers and making that money. I'll never forget the look that guy gave me. Because that guy's used to all these agents like, we want that money.
Yeah.
Look, there's other agents.
But you broke the cycle, though, with that. Because you did that, you gave him a different perspective.
But you know what, though? But look, at the same time, I want to make sure that the audience knows, look, there's other people like this. I'm not like some saint or something. What I'm saying, though. But I'm saying one of those people that's very big on principle. Yeah. You're going to go fuck over your agent that's been showing you these properties and working their asses off to get you into a house. Then you're going to try to jump ship with me to make sure that you get the damn house. Yep. And then you're going to threaten me with like, well, don't you want more money? You know, it's like I really like. Look, I do. Nope, I do. But I mean, I do want to make money. I do want to be successful. I'm not gonna sit here and say I don't need to make money. I do. But the thing is that I don't want dirty money. I don't want I want to get rewarded for taking care of people.
Yeah, it comes with a stigma.
I don't want to burn my colleagues. Yeah. I definitely don't want to empower people that are willing to treat people like that.
Yeah. Well, you're not saying, but at the end of the day, we need more individuals like you that's going to set the tone, because we need people to stick up and say something, you know, and
Well,
not let people walk all over other people.
There are. I mean, I have some colleagues in real estate that have been in the business for a long time as well that have that level of integrity.
Yeah.
And I hope that more agents coming in the business develop that. Because look, if we all stand together strong, we'll make our industry better. Like
Yeah.
this stupid, like this lawsuit crap and all this other crap that's happened.
Yeah.
If we really, rally together and help each other out,
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's gonna, have less of these things happen. Like, not that we did anything wrong or that we're guilty in that whole situation, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying, like, all these different things that are coming up, like if we all just kind of set a standard and we all worked better together, I think that would change that.
Oh, dude,
But
big time, bro. I was just you saw, I was at Team Fast, and I was doing a keynote in Oakland, California. And I'm not going to say any names, but we had one of our clients there. And one of our clients sent us an email and said, hey, like, I want to make sure I understand how to maximize a website that Liftoff agent built for 2025. So I sent him an email, super passionate, because I like to deliver with passion. And we're not just here to take your money. So I'm on fucking stage, dude. Mind you, this agent is behind on his billing. And I'm just pouring my heart out and just giving. And then my team reaches out about the billing and whatever else. And like, it brings me back to that moment where I'm like, I want to literally tell him, hey, dude, like, you're asking for, feedback. You're questioning our integrity. Like, we're not doing a good enough job, but you're at the basic level of service. And then I'm flying out and sponsoring events so you can have a free happy hour. And then I'm giving you all this fucking information and free guides and the whole nine. And you literally can't even pay your bill, and you just like act like everything's all fine and like come up and have a conversation with me. And I'm still killing with kindness. Like, oh, yeah, you can sit over here. He's kind of like by himself. Oh, cool. Come over here. You can sit with us and whatever else. And so I'm all about integrity, bro. I do not pull that shit. Like, I don't appreciate it. I don't respect it. I think anyone who's listening, like, you need to make sure that you have that integrity for yourself first. Because I think it starts with your integrity. Like, you start with having integrity for yourself, and you set that integrity and that level of standard for yourself, and then it pours over to others. And then I believe in the universe will give you good karma, and then you'll see tenfold on top of that.
well, the thing is then once again, there's a lot of relativity here between personal relationships and business relationships too.
Yeah.
Because I mean, on the same note, like, look at the value of the relationship you have with your wife or me with a girlfriend. I mean, like, I wouldn't cheat on my girlfriend, right? Like, it's like that. Like, I value what we have.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, literally, it's not about getting caught or not getting caught. It's about the fact that, being true and integrity with yourself
Yeah.
and what you've built and the feeling and love and everything else that you have. I mean, look, if you're that kind of person with clients or in your relationship, whatever, and this is not judging anybody else, but I'm just saying, like, what do you have?
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah.
have if that's
Yeah.
how you operate? And so, I learned through my experience that it was okay to say no. It was okay to have boundaries. It was not about how much commission and sales can I capture. It was about how many people can I help whose values align with mine.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not talking about like politics or any of this other shit. Right? I'm just talking
Yeah.
about just in general, like, look, I want to help you.
Yep.
If you can be respectful to me and if you can trust me
Yep.
as the person that's going to help you achieve your goals.
Yep.
And if you can respect me and treat me well and work with me, then let's get together and do this. And
Amen.
so, and like, look, I mean, I've been fortunate because here's what's funny too. Since COVID and all this other crazy stuff that's happened, when you're so transparent and so honest with yourself and so true, 90% of the clients I connect with, even people I just met, because the past clients, sure, I already know, but
Yeah.
dude, I never in my career remember being so aligned with people.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to get into politics or anything else, but
like attract like.
I'm sitting on your couch yesterday. How aligned are we? Right? Like,
Yeah.
but we don't talk about it.
Just,
Some things that come up because
is.
you just know.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is that, like, you attract,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's another reason it's really important
Yeah.
to be true and transparent.
Yeah.
Right? Because then there's less work in trying to sort out where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
I know who you are. You know who I am.
Yeah.
We do business well together. Like, we mesh, like we connect.
Take it or leave it, There's no,
And it's all out on the table, right? And so it's like, and I mean, the reason I bring this up right now is because look what we've been through in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
The fires, all the racism and all the craziness and COVID and COVID shots and the elections and politics and
Yeah, it's been a lot of freaking, a
there's
lot of
it's been a
mucky water.
it's been a shitstorm.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people just dividing, families broken, friendships, relationships. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
gnarly, nasty. And it's like, it's incredible to me that with all of these like bullets that you're dodging, that you're still aligning. Like, at least I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah.
I'm finding myself very aligned with my friends, my business partners, with my clients. Like, it just, but it's because I've paid my dues, I've done the work, and I've stayed true to my beliefs and my feelings.
Yeah.
And I'm driven and motivated
Mm.
by wanting to serve and to help and always looking out for their best interest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that comes up so much in mentoring agents, or like just even mentoring people that are not even agents. Sometimes people come to me for advice. It's like, number one, because they always ask you, like, 25 years in real estate, that's a brutal business. 25 years in real estate and you've always made a living. You know, that's crazy. Like, what's the secret?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I told you earlier, one of them is work. You got to work hard.
Yeah.
You gotta just always be working.
Yeah.
The other one, I talked about adaptability.
Yep.
Adapt to the market.
Yep.
You got to be adaptable.
Yeah.
But the you know, the other thing too though is that I always say this: look out for the best interest of the client,
Yeah.
even if that means making $0.
Yeah.
Take care of people.
Yeah.
You're the professional. Don't take advantage, especially for people that don't know a lot about real estate.
Mm-hmm.
They're trusting you.
Yeah.
And this is a big deal, especially at California real estate. You could literally have a client
Cutthroat
lose
out
$1
there.
million or a house that they put this big down payment on, they just foreclose. I mean,
Yeah.
you could like, I mean, look, every market, I'm not trying to judge that it's not important in a $300,000 market, but I'm just saying, like, especially in California real estate, you're talking about, that's a shit ton of money.
Yeah. The
Well,
numbers are a
there's-
lot bigger. Yeah.
And it's like you, regardless, you have, like I said, disclaimer, you look out for everybody anywhere in the country, but I'm just saying,
Yeah.
even more so when these people could be risking their life savings or their entire paychecks to try to make this all happen. You really have to think about them before yourself.
Yeah, 100%, dude. Last lift off right there, and I think that's transferable in all lights, right? Like
Right.
it's whether it's like looking out for someone to hold the door, or I do a lot of stuff on stories, and I'm just transparent and authentic and just real with whatever that's going on, because I feel like you never know where someone else is. And like I had someone that was helping me out. She like broke her leg, and she'd been following me since I met my wife in 2000 and whatever it was, 2019. We got married, so 2000 around 18, and so I met her at a veggie girl. She was a twin, and she's like, I don't follow many people and watch their stories, but she's been consistently watching my stories, and I'm inspiring her and helping her and whatever. And the next thing you know, she helped me, and now she's potentially has a referral coming through, which is really cool. But this agent's a little behind, so she has some things to clean up before she'll be ready to work with us at Liftoff. But yeah, it's just, that's a blessing just to look out for others, man. Serve people and support people, and karma, man, it comes back around because you've done a lot of good, and I can only imagine the deals and the things that have come back because of the good that you put out there.
Yeah, well, honestly, the thing too about that is, not giving with expectation, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you do get blessed, and I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I want to be blessed. It doesn't mean that I'm going to give so I can get something back.
Exactly.
But I mean, I want to pay it forward.
Yeah.
So maybe I've already received that blessing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's the way you choose to live.
Yeah. 100%. I mean,
because a lot of people think, okay, I'm doing this so something comes. You know what? There's probably something you've been grateful for that already came.
Exactly.
So just keep paying that forward, because you know what? Someone else can have the same experience.
Yeah.
And if more people do that, it's more blessings for everyone.
Hey, the Liftoff experience. That's what it's about. It's about experiences. And that's why I wanted you on the show, so we can have this experience together. Because at the end of the day, it's like you try to do the best you can to serve and support others. And like right now, I just had a conversation with Smith like a couple hours before our show. And I wanted to give $1,000 to this orphanage so we can help them be able to pay for shoes and clothes and the whole nine. And I was just going through our numbers, and it's just like, I don't know if we can be able to spend that extra $1,000 right now, because, we have almost 20 on staff, and then the payroll, and then we want to give them something too for the holidays. And so it's like, all right, like, you got to do what you got to do, but you can only do it as much as you can do. So I think that people just like I love how you said, like, don't give to think that you need to like get something back in return, and don't give more than you can, because you got to take care of yourself and your
Right.
team and those around you, and then try to go that extra mile and serve someone else. Because like Airbnb, right? We had like we could use the money, 500 something bucks, but it was like 4 kids and a mom. And we're like, or like 3 kids and a mom. And she said it was 4. And she said there was only 2 of them and she didn't really have that much money and whatever else. And we're like, do we really want to get involved in whatever she has going on? Cause she was low income or she had like a government program helping get an apartment. So like, you heard my wife talking about how my daughter felt bad and said, oh, we should just give them the place for free and this and that. And that's where sometimes like you also have to be careful about like your energy and like your space. And I feel like it's so easy sometimes to like let people into your space because you want to serve, you want to support them. And there's only so much you could do for them. And then they're dealing with their own demons or their own negative thoughts or depression or whatever. And like they say, like within like a company, it's like one bad egg could spoil the bunch.
Right.
And so you have to be careful about guarding yourself a bit and taking care of you first and then not overextending yourself, because that's something that I was talking to Smith about today. I'm like, yeah, we want to support, but can't overextend ourselves. We can't put ourselves out just to serve someone else. You know what I'm saying? Gotta let God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, just play out the way it's supposed to play out as well.
Well, yeah, no, and you can't save everyone. And the thing is too is that, sometimes, because like, earlier I said, like I can be a sucker for a good pitch. A lot of times when you see people in need too, we're so quick to see them in need that we forget that there's actually scammers out there, people taking advantage. And I mean, and then look,
Oh my God.
I remember one of the rentals I had years ago. We had some Section 8 people in there.
Yeah.
And like, look, Section 8, there's a lot of people that need it, that use it.
Yeah, of course.
That's legit, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we had this one lady that her portion of the rent was
Yeah.
only $50 a month.
Wow.
And she couldn't even make that on time. She had a Mercedes with wheels and dropped and all this like fancy stuff.
Are
And
you serious?
Yeah,
And she
and-
could spend $50?
and she was her rent was being subsidized.
Oh my
Like,
God.
I mean, it would have been nice, she only she
Yeah.
was paying $50. It would have
Yeah.
been nice, for her to give that to a family that really needed it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not playing God or judging. My whole point is that, you always are kind of a sucker to want to help people that seem like they're less fortunate and everything. And it's like, you got to keep a clear mind and don't just get sucked in by the emotion.
Yeah.
Stay practical about the fact that, look,
Yeah.
if you can help, make sure you're helping like a worthy cause.
Yeah.
Like, just like some of these charities that, just such a small percentage actually goes to the charity. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of it goes to the people that run it and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I mean, it's good to give and to help and do whatever, to help people out. But, there's nothing wrong with even evaluating that. Like, you would
Yeah.
evaluate a client or anything else.
My wife's all about that.
Yeah.
She doesn't always do like, you're like the checkout. Oh, you want to donate $1 or whatever to whatever cause? And she's always like, if I can't really understand where the money's going, I'm not just going to give $5-10 to,
Yeah.
the checkout stand.
And a lot of them do the roundup, the cents.
Yeah.
Some donate this to this or this.
Yeah.
But it's like, look, I mean, and then sometimes they almost try to guilt you. But it's like, no.
Yes.
No, it's so it's like, yeah, I mean, at the same time, I mean, I give a lot to charity and there's charities I really support. In fact, I was at an event Friday night for Jacob's Heart, which is Children's Cancer Services.
Okay.
They're based out of California. I mean, I've supported them. I realized last week when we put something out for trying to get gifts for this family we're helping this year, that I've been supporting them for about 15 years.
Wow.
What a great charity. They're local. They do a lot off of donation and everything. And they have minimal staff. I mean, they got enough staff to help do what they got to do. But it's like, I mean, I love supporting that local charity and what they do and being involved. And so it's like, you could also pick your spots.
Yeah.
Because you can't help everyone.
No.
So pick a couple that you can get to know. There's great charities out there,
Yeah.
Some people like to pick charities that are in honor of maybe they lost a loved one to a specific type of cancer, or maybe someone had a certain disease, or maybe it's the Alzheimer's, whatever. But it's like, really look into what actually goes to the actual cause versus
Yeah.
what's corporate. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
look, I mean, that's another kind of sales,
Mm-hmm.
appealing to your emotion.
It is.
And so
Yes.
I think that you see, that's what's hard, because I'm Mr. Autopilot. Oh, it's a cause. Oh, but I've gotten so much better at holding the line there.
You have to.
I'm
which
like
is good.
I'm like the wife. I don't just like round
Yeah.
up whatever. No, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing. I give where I want based on what I want.
Yeah.
If you bring me a cause and you want me to evaluate it, I'll look into it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'll get involved. Maybe I'll promote.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's something where you need help for a day, where you come and help do some work to help at a senior center or something.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just go donate my time. Like
Yeah, then you know where you know
Yeah.
exactly where it's going. So I got a question for you, because for our viewers and listeners out there, so they can relate to like a little bit of like where you came from, because I'm also curious too, because like you have this, like you could tell, like just watching this man on the show right now, he's fired up, he's on it, he's delivering with passion. I could tell you're really enjoying, you know, what you're doing here, which translates to what you do in different lights, whether it's the construction side or the real estate side. So you're an entrepreneur at heart, and you're building these businesses, and you're doing what you're doing. Let's go deeper into like mom, dad. Are they business owners? Were they entrepreneurs? Like, your brothers? Like, how did this come up for you? Like, especially even getting into the industry of like real estate.
Well, it's interesting because my parents are immigrants from the Azores Islands in Portugal.
Really?
And when there was those bad earthquakes, years ago, like the U.S. kind of opened the door for a lot of the Portuguese immigrants to come over and immigrate.
That's
You
awesome.
know, they offer like asylum or different. I don't know if
Yeah.
that was asylum or something else, but there was an opportunity for them to come over here. And so it's interesting. My mom's dad, who passed away years ago, my grandfather, they say
God
I'm a lot
bless.
like him. Yeah. I'm a really good cook. He was a great cook.
Mm.
My personality and like the giving and helping,
He's gonna come back and cook for my
I'm
wife and my daughter and I.
well, it's interesting how much I have in common with him. But anyway, it was interesting because when they came to this country, he picked the Central Coast of Monterey Bay because the weather, even though the islands are in the Atlantic, they're not super, super tropical like what you would expect.
Really?
It's not super humid. It doesn't get ridiculously hot. It's almost similar to the Monterey Bay weather. to a
Okay,
certain
okay.
extent. I mean, so it kind of reminded him some of like the Big Sur coastline and the just kind of reminded him of Portugal. And so
Yeah.
they picked that spot.
Got it.
And that's where, so my dad, he went to work, well, they had some tough jobs at first, like, working like farming, pruning trees, doing some different things, kind of coming up. But then he got to work for a big commercial construction company
Mm.
and he decided he wanted to have his own business.
Okay.
He launched his own construction company.
Ah.
And then my mom, and actually I'm gonna have to rehash the story with her one more time. It's been a while since I've heard the whole story, but she ended up working in the beauty salon, like, doing hair.
Yeah.
She ended up having her own beauty salon.
Really?
She's retired from that. But so I got three younger brothers. I'm the oldest of four brothers, and the brother below me took over. I was helping my dad a lot when I was in college and high school, college, summers around college, junior college.
Yeah.
Helping him win the business, working, helping him with his contracts and stuff.
Mhm.
My brother had taken a job down in San Diego, so the brother below me, and so he wasn't really around at first. But then my brother came up to take over the company, so I could focus more on real estate.
Yeah.
And so then, my brother kind of took over. My dad retired, and then they started spending more time. They built another house in Portugal where we have some land there in the Azores.
Nice.
And so they started spending 4 or 5, 6 months a year there. So my mom completely retired. That business was done, closed down. But my brother took over. And then my other two brothers, my brother below, so that's Victor, the brother below him, Eric.
Yeah.
He went to USF and then he transferred to Duke to get his doctorate
Ah.
in physical therapy.
Okay.
He met his wife there, who's in the same major.
Awesome.
And they settled down, got married. Beautiful wedding. Went out there. We see each other pretty frequently.
Yeah.
A few times a year. But it's like they settled there and they have two kids now, my niece and nephew.
Yeah.
And then my little brother, he's still single. So my two middle brothers are married with kids, and my youngest brother, he's never been married. He works. He's like a ranch manager. Worked there in the mountains. Worked up up above Sacramento in the Sierras, there in the foothills.
Okay.
He was on a big ranch there for a long time, and then he was on a ranch over in Petaluma by the coast, and then he recently got moved to a big property in Arkansas where he's helping develop a bunch of land.
Nice.
And so he's so those are my three younger brothers, and yeah, luckily both my parents are alive and healthy. I mean, sure, everybody has their health stuff
So
once
they
in a
live
while.
close by you then.
So we still have the ranch we grew up on, little 2.5 acre ranch.
Wow.
My parents are there when they're here in the U.S. They stay there. My brother below me, he lives nearby. I helped him buy a property close to theirs,
Nice.
and he's got like 5 acres. And then and I'm about 20 minutes north of them. But yeah, no, our family unit's tight. And we've lost a lot of family members over the years. Not my immediate, but like all my grandparents have passed away.
Yeah, mine too.
I don't have any grandparents. We have some of our cousins have died in the last few years. Like my dad's generation. Like his first cousins, there were 5 brothers that were also in our hometown where we grew up. 3 of them have passed away in the last 4 years, which is sad.
God
But
bless.
but yeah, but anyway, their kids, we all kind of grew up together, and
Yeah.
and then my mom's got a lot of family down in LA and in
Okay.
different places, and we still have some family in Portugal. But yeah, no, great family unit. I mean, we grew up going to Catholic church in Portuguese.
Really?
So they had Portuguese mass. You go to Catholic church as an altar boy. Like, grew up in the culture and the festivals and being in the parades
Wow.
and doing the Christmas plays and dancing and singing and dancing in the folkloric group. I mean,
Mm.
really grew up with a lot of the, grew up speaking Portuguese first,
Okay.
then learned English, and then grew up in an area that was heavily, Mexican population, a lot of agricultural workers and such.
Yeah.
So I grew up with the Mexican culture as well.
Mm.
And so I'm fluent in Spanish as well.
Wow.
And so we, I came up in a small town and I moved about 20 minutes north to a little place on the coast called Aptos.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been there for the last 22 years.
Wow.
Our family's close. We all get along. And, I mean, there's no drama.
Yeah,
no
yeah.
family. It's great because unfortunately with clients and other friends, like they'll have like these family dramas. And sure, there's challenges. There's challenges sometimes. There's been differences or things that come up.
Of course.
But overall, like we just have a really good, family dynamic. And I'm really thankful looking back. And we're talking about earlier about ignorance and what you brought up.
Mm-hmm.
My parents were super strict.
Really?
But they taught me, how to be, good person, respectable, hardworking.
I love it.
They didn't let me go out. Even in junior college, I was still staying with them because junior college was close to home.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't be out too late. I couldn't go to parties
Really?
and stuff. They were very strict. And so thankful for that. I feel like it
Give it structure.
It let me grow and it let me get old enough to a point where I was going to be safe and starting to make my own decisions.
I love that.
Yeah, because I think
Congratulations.
thanks. Because I mean, now when you hear about all this like these gender surgeries and all this crazy stuff that's happening with people who are teenagers and stuff.
Yeah.
That stuff just scares the hell out of me. Like,
and that never was a thing.
Well, but
that was never a thing for me growing up either. I mean,
the reason I'm bringing that up though is because I'm thinking about the fact that, once we got into junior college, even in high school, we really felt like we were adults, that we were not going to grow up anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I remember different points growing up where I felt like, oh yeah, I'm an adult now. I've gotten to in my 20s, in my 30s, in my 40s. Now I'm going to go 50 and I still like, it's like, no, it keeps going. You
got a lot to
learning,
learn, dude.
You keep growing, you keep learning,
there is no stop.
And so the reason I'm not even trying to get political or go into the whole gender thing, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that, my parents were so strict and limited us and stuff, and I felt like it helped us to be better, humans growing up.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I brought up that whole thing as an example is the fact that I think about the fact that they wouldn't even let me go out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's people out there that wouldn't let teenagers make decisions about their body and crazy stuff like that.
Yeah.
That a lot of them live to regret.
Yeah.
Because they do grow up from there to the next level.
Yeah.
And that was just one example. I mean, there's a lot of examples, right? But I mean, that was just one example that came to mind that's been a real hot subject because I have a really close friend that's struggling with that right now with their son.
Oh, no.
And so that's why I brought that up because it's like, like my daughter just turned 18 and the other day she's trying to pull the I'm an adult now, I'm 18 card.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, and so it's like, you legally an adult, but emotionally, everything else, like there's certain things that I still need to guide you on. Certain things I still want to look out for you, I care for you. I mean, there's things that need to happen. So, I think that it's really important growing up to have, the best family unit you can. Like, look, a lot of my friends, their parents got divorced when they were young. Maybe they didn't have both parents there, and it could be a bit more challenging.
For sure.
But I mean, I think that there's a huge respect now because you're kind of angry and pissed off at them when they're being strict, not letting you do things, and you feel like you're missing out. But I look back now and I'm so thankful, for that. And then not only that, earlier looking at me saying, oh, you look pretty healthy. It doesn't even look like you went through cancer or whatever. The other thing too is that I wasn't out there partying for 10 years, getting drunk and doing drugs and being up all night and doing stupid shit. Some of my colleagues from then, when I see them, I don't even recognize them.
Wow.
It's tremendous what all that does to your system. And like it ages you. I went to one of our colleagues' funerals about 4 or 5 years ago. There was 4 guys there that said hi to me that I did not even recognize them.
Wow.
And it just like, I just think about the fact that, we don't really, like, you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you kind of need that guidance. So I'm thankful to have a strong family unit. I'm thankful that my parents were together and that we were raised the way we were, as much as like I rebelled and hated it, for a while, looking back. And then I'm also thankful too, like I said, I mean, I dodged a few bullets on maybe I would have been the guy that's spent all this time partying and just ruining my health and not really kind of moving ahead with life.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Instead, I was inspired early to like want to go make money and have this career.
Well, you're in my opinion, and everyone is entitled to their beliefs on the subject matter. And what comes up for me from smoking and drinking and what have you, it's like a different way to cope with the emotions that we're feeling that we want to maybe suppress. Maybe it's like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, and I want to go have fun. And so you're young, and there's these hot chicks. And so you just get sidetracked with chicks and drugs and alcohol and whatever else. And I was just in San Francisco, and I was talking to this gentleman who is dating a top performing real estate professional. And if you like real estate talk, check out RE Verse Tech, Real Estate Verse Technology, because we're going to have a few episodes where we're talking about real estate on this show. But he is, I don't know, it's been 10 years. And I'm like 28, I'm 38, and he's still drinking, and he likes to drink. And he was like telling me that he's like, yeah, he's like, I don't know, man. Like, I just really like to drink. Like having a good time. He's like, I've been doing a little bit better where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go run. I'm going to go run 3 miles. And then after my run, I feel really great, but I still feel like I want to have a drink. And then he's like with a woman who like only has so much time left to have a child, and like he needs to buckle up his freaking big boy pants and like propose and like, get her pregnant and like move on and like be a top performer. And I think sometimes what came up for me is he was kind of like knew what he wanted to do, and if you want to say affirmations or achieving goals, but he was for some reason stuck in the past and didn't want to move forward, and just wanted to stay in this segment of where he was 10 years ago when he was probably 20 something, because I think he's like 3 or 4 years younger than me. And it's like, dude, like you got a freaking beautiful woman who's a top performer, this and that, and it's so easy. He's like feeling less than because he's with this top producer, where he feels like he's not far enough along to put the ring on the finger or to have the child or whatever else. But then he's caught up in the alcohol game, and it's like, bro, stop. I said this to him. I said, what if I told you you're not allowed to have a drink until you get where you want to go? And then when you get where you want to go and you feel that you've accomplished what you have accomplished from your manifestation standpoint, then you get to drink, right? Like a dog. You train the dog by giving them the treat after the fact, right? And I think that as humans, you could look at that the same way. Like, I like to treat myself. Had a good day. Okay, I'm gonna treat myself. And like, I'll be honest, like I don't smoke often, but I have a little pen, and I'll take a little hit of weed here and there, just to be like, hey, good job. You deserved it. Take a little hit. And I don't do it to take the edge off, or because I can't relax, or I can't sleep, or any of the bullshit. Like, I don't make up limitations or excuses of why I need to do it. I just do it because I enjoy it, and I do it because I earned it, and I do it because it's a treat. And so I asked him that. He's like, oh, so I don't know what's going to happen. I'll have to follow up with him to see what happens with that situation. But that was my take on the whole alcohol and drugs. And
Well, but I could see that's his coping mechanism, because he's feeling like
right?
less than.
Yes.
This is someone that really needs to, like earlier we were talking about how they kind of get stuck not being able to,
Yeah.
like that's someone that should probably go talk to somebody.
He probably needs a therapist.
Right. And I mean, like I feel, well, like look, I'm not gonna tell people what to do, but I'm saying if I was in that situation, because what I've learned from going to therapy myself,
Yeah.
that would have been something great to work through.
Yeah.
And there's a chance that he's been holding himself back
Mm-hmm.
because of feeling like less than or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like look, I know what I can relate to with you saying that is that there's times where I feel overwhelmed, and like when you're ADHD, you like kind of you start spinning, like you can't do anything. Oh, actually, here's a better relation for you. Did you ever have a nightmare when you were a kid where something's chasing you and you fell down and you couldn't get up fast enough?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's almost like that whole sensation.
Yeah.
And you just kind of like, you're like, I really want to get there, but I'm overwhelmed. Here, let me just drink, or let me eat this, or I'm not going to sleep, or let me go do this.
Yes.
Or let me sabotage myself
Yes.
somehow. And that's, I mean, I don't know this person, I don't know the story, but I'm just saying, like, just from the outside, it just sounds like a little bit of self-sabotage because having a hard time coping.
Yes.
But yeah, I think that, like, look, I agree that people drink and do all this stuff to avoid other things. But I guess what I'm trying to say, though, is I was kind of relating to, like, at a younger age when you really don't know enough, or you haven't grown up enough to really be able to make good decisions.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of trash yourself before, like, then you have regret because there's a lot of stuff you can't undo.
No.
And so it's like, I guess for me, I just feel like it was lucky or a blessing that I was able to like dodge a lot of that era or a lot of that stuff. And I'm glad I never tried drugs or got into drugs at all. But yeah, look, it's not, and I don't look down on anybody that does. I mean, everybody has their own journey.
Yeah.
I'm just saying for me, for me, like just the way the whole family and the way, growing up and everything. So yeah, I mean, I know that kind of went out on a tangent, but so, I mean, that's pretty much the family story, growing up.
Yeah.
I grew up
I
in
love
California,
that.
and I mean,
It's kind of ironic though, because you're like, oh, all right, bro, you helped dad with the construction company so I could do the real estate thing. But you found yourself back in the construction thing. And why would you even go into real estate in the first place and not just help your pops? Like, what was the catalyst to get your license? Why?
Well, so well, I don't know how much time we have, but I got a lot of stories. It's like, look, I mean, when I was in junior college, I played on the golf team, played on the football team. I quit football the first year. It was too much, and I actually had gotten too small to move up because I was a defensive lineman,
Yeah.
and the guys were just huge, and they wanted to move me to linebacker because I was like not big enough to be a lineman anymore as a defensive lineman. I was like, that's done. So I stayed on the golf team. I joined the honor society, took a full load of units. I had a part-time job at a golf club as a dishwasher
Okay.
because I wanted to have golf privileges.
Yeah, that's cool.
And they had a union dishwasher job available.
Oh.
So I was a dishwasher part-time. I helped my dad part-time.
Yeah.
So I would do the dishwasher golf course thing on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
I'd help my dad during the week when I didn't have class.
Okay.
And then I also had shifts at Wells Fargo Bank.
Ah.
And so the reason that this is important is because, I was working my butt off, took this full load. After a couple years in junior college, I moved to San Jose. I was able to transfer with Wells Fargo, but I couldn't transfer with construction. Was like an hour away from it didn't make sense to do construction anymore because I was upper division. I was in the city. So I wasn't helping my dad anymore. And then the golf course, I didn't transfer to play golf in college. I mean, I just played junior college golf. So all I had was the Wells Fargo job. So anyway, fast forward, I'm at Wells Fargo in San Jose and I'm doing the merchant windows, helping the business people that come in, the merchant teller. And it was interesting because, like we would have little competitions. Okay, here's what we want you guys to sell today. There's this bonus, like let's get these credit card applications filled out. We're giving people this bonus or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's all these contests. And look, I'm a salesman since I was a kid. Like I want to, the game. I want to win.
With you. Yeah.
And so this real estate broker that had an office down the street used to come in all the time. I didn't know what real estate was yet. I mean, I was 20 years old.
Okay.
So I hadn't, I didn't really have that knowledge really.
Yeah.
So, but he told me one day, he's like, hey, why don't you come see me after work? I remember it's been 30 years. So almost 30 years. So it's hard to remember the exact conversation, but it was something along the lines of like, hey, I know that they don't pay you a lot here and you're always trying to sell me something. He's like, I'm in a business where you can get paid pretty good money for selling houses. Why don't you come talk to me? So I went and talked to him. He said, look, go get your license, pay for your course and everything. Come work with me. When you pass your test, I'll reimburse you for all your expenses. For getting your license. And so that's what got me going on principles of real estate. But then during that time, because I was such an entrepreneur, I had a cousin that worked for a company called Sleep Train, a mattress company.
Yeah.
And they wanted to open up the Bay Area market. They were already in Sacramento and the Central Valley and everything, but then made the Bay Area. They also were up in Oregon and in Washington. And I was getting trained to actually work with them, which it wasn't really taking me towards my goal because my goal was to go make $100,000 a year in business. And, maybe I was going to go into lending or something, but regardless, shiny object, like opportunity. And so, so it's interesting. I end up taking this job. I go to Seattle for a while and I ended up staying up there for a while because I got promoted while I was there. We're supposed to just go help with a holiday sale.
Yeah.
Like a couple weeks. And long story short, then because I was up there and I got tied up with that, then I didn't really keep going with the real estate license. I put it on hold. Fast forward, they decide to shut down that market. I'm one of the top 5 producers on the West Coast. The reason that's important is because this is what launched me into the real estate business. So my buddy, my roommate, when I moved back down here, he calls me one day. He's like, hey man, how you doing? He's like, hey, you know how our company shut down and we all left the mattress business? He's like, well, I got picked up by this mortgage lender up here. And they wanted me to give them a list of the top 5 producers in the company because the company shut down. So he's like, you're one of the top 5 in production. So they want to interview you. So I went up and I got hired. And that's when I moved to Seattle for 3 years. I was working for a national lender.
And you let this guy hang the whole time because you're supposed to get your license and then you're supposed to go back to this guy.
But I mean, he didn't obligate me to come work with him. He just was giving me the opportunity. Like, if you go get your license.
Did you ever call him or tell him like, hey, like I went in a different direction? Or
I did talk to him a couple of times. I think he was already older, so I think he ended up retiring or shutting it down. But
okay.
But yeah, no, I didn't ghost him or anything. But I didn't have any kind of commitment to him. He just wanted to offer me the opportunity.
Okay.
And he told me what to go do.
I was just thinking like
a real estate school.
You had this opportunity hanging over here. You're like, well, fuck, let's go sell some mattresses over here. And now I'm going over here.
Well, I mean, look, we trying to find our way,
Yeah.
And the thing is, though, is that one thing led to the other because then I got into mortgage, and then a couple years up there, and there's a mortgage company down here that's offered me an opportunity. My family's like, we miss having you down here.
Yeah.
I love Seattle. It was great, but I also miss my family and my life's down here.
Of course.
And so I got offered a really good job at a mortgage company here. And I was like, wait a minute. I'm doing the same amount of work, but instead of doing, you know, $100,000 and $200,000 houses, they're doing like 900, $1 million, $1.5 million houses. So I'm making like so much more money doing the same thing if I really want to. I was really focused on money early in my career. So I came down here and got into, you know, lending down here, but I had to have my real estate license. So I finished my license because in California at the time, you had to have a mortgage. I mean, there was no mortgage license at the time. It was real estate license to do mortgage.
Really?
And so I got my license to do mortgage in 2002. And then essentially I got really good at mortgage. I became the top producer here at the company I was in California. I was there for 5 years. And I really loved it, but I really still had that itch to be out with people, be out in the field. You know, I started flipping some houses on the side because I learned that I love transforming properties and everything. So I was itchy to get out there. But the thing is that I had built such a great referral partnership from agents bringing me loans. And I'm in a small market. Those are small communities.
Yeah.
I felt like I was cheating if I jumped to the sales side because I felt like I was betraying everybody that I was doing their loans. It's like, what? I'm just going to jump on their side and compete with people who've been sending me business. I don't know. I shouldn't have thought that way, but you could see the nice guy complex. That probably wouldn't even cross most people's mind.
Yeah.
I was concerned about, if I jump to the other side. And I mean, that started young, right? For whatever reason, that started, and that's not always a good thing. But no, anyway, long story short, what happened was that in 2008, our company was one of the companies that folded. A lot of those companies folded. And so me and my, he kind of became like a partner, one of my best friends. Out of college, he joined me, and he became kind of like my partner in the lending. We moved to another bank that hadn't closed. And at that point, I started going through a divorce and stuff. And I told him, I go, you know what, bro? I go, I'm going to there's not enough here for both of us anyway right now with the way the market is. Like, look, carry on the torch, database, whatever. I'm going to, you know, shift to move into the real estate sales side.
Nice.
I went through a divorce and at the same time launched into sales. And that was during the crash, short sales and REOs and everything.
Yeah.
A lot of like the baby boomers and some of these older agents left the business because they didn't want to adapt. They didn't really understand how to work. Coming out of mortgage, I understood short sales and dealing with title companies and banks and all that stuff. I mean, third year in sales, I was number one in the whole brokerage.
Wow.
Production. I closed 41 deals my third year.
That's amazing.
And that was, I knew I finally had found home. Like I was finally, but that was the journey to get there.
Dude, talk about a freaking roller coaster ride, dude.
But there's still some other pieces that were involved. I mean, the $100,000 piece came from, in junior high, one of my best friends, his brother-in-law happened to be Portuguese, married to his sister. This guy drove a BMW, cool shades, like a cool BMW, and he worked for Bank of America in lending. Like, and I mean, he's just Joe Cool, you know?
Yeah.
And we knew he made a lot of money and stuff. And so, like, I kind of, like, wanted to be like this guy.
Yeah.
So, like, when I was in junior
Influence
college.
is real.
Yeah, I was like, so that's where the $100,000 goal and all that came from.
Yeah.
And I ended up dropping out of college.
Wow.
I was close to getting my bachelor's in business, and I dropped out because I was so excited about being an entrepreneur. The ADHD, which I didn't really know I had back then, I could not focus in those long lectures. So lower division, like the lower division business classes and stuff, I crushed them. I was an honor student.
Wow.
I crushed my first 3 years of college, crushed it. Once I got in these long classes and stuff, and the business building was old. Their AC wouldn't work. It's really hot in San Jose in the summer.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It's hot. I'd get sleepy. It's uncomfortable. I was working graveyard, which kind of threw me off. I had a graveyard job up there. I mean, it wasn't going well. And I was like, I wasn't learning anything anymore.
Yeah.
I lost interest. I wanted to go make money.
Yeah.
So when I got that call to go to Seattle,
he's like, I'm out. Dude, that's freaking crazy, dude. Congratulations. Talking about having Liftoff getting into real estate. If you want to actually, this will be a link down below. You're more than welcome to check out the Real Estate First Technology podcast with Shane, so you could check that out and watch that. And I'm curious, kind of like tying everything all together. I just had it and I lost it, and it's going to come back to me in a second because I wanted to tie it all in because we've been going in all these different directions about different things. And man, it's one of those like,
I hate that. A minute ago when I was answering one of your questions, I lost my third one for a second, and then it came back.
Yeah, right? You're like,
because you're so fired up. I'm going to go, oh my God, this is a great point. Then like, what was I going to say?
Yeah. And then it's like you lose it. And you're like, where is it? Oh yeah. Okay. Got it back. Thanks so much. So you alluded to a little bit of this book conversation. And so you're talking about this book coming out and what have you, like for the viewers and listeners out there, like what is the concept of the book and like for them to get fired up about it? Like what is going to be the goal and the concepts of it?
Well, so this book, I'm working with a group out of LA. This book, it's interesting. They do a lot with entrepreneurs and different businesses.
Mm,
They also help people, build their podcasts and stuff. They're a great group of guys that I met. I met them at an event with one of our commercial leader for EXP. I went to an event that they held at this Chase Bank for like investors and stuff.
mm-hmm.
That's how I met them. And I went to their PodCon event recently. It was super cool. I met these really
Really?
cool podcasters from around the country.
Wow.
This was in LA about a month and a half ago or so.
Yeah.
It was called PodCon. It was awesome. It was their first annual PodCon. But anyway, these guys are super cool.
Yeah.
I told them I
sick.
wanted to write a book. I just never gotten around to it. And they're like, well, here's what we're doing is we start with, you could do your book and we'll work with you if you want. And in fact, they just finished helping Barry Sanders write his autobiography.
Nice.
So they've really involved with Barry Sanders and his whole story. But and other people, they work with, famous people, high up business people.
Yeah.
The guy that interviewed me on the podcast the other day,
Yeah.
he's done over 6,000 interviews.
Wow.
He's probably in our age range.
Wow.
But anyway, so to start off, it's like, okay, I'm like not ready to do a whole book yet. I mean, I have enough to do a whole book, but I wanted to get in. Well, look, what we do for our entrepreneurs is you can have a chapter in this book.
Mm.
And then what we do is we publish it. I mean, yeah, we sell it on Amazon and everything else, but it's like, it's more for you to use for, marketing yourself to clients. Maybe it's a gift or a giveaway, but also you're in a book with all these other entrepreneurs in different lines of work and stuff. And it gives you a chance to really network yourself with different audiences.
Got it.
And kind of get your feet wet on, what you put out there in people's engagement. And it's kind of a good precursor to actually writing a full book. And so that chapter really entails kind of my life journey, my experience, and then, kind of my tips and, I guess my direction on how I've built the real estate business.
Yeah.
And, with the construction as well as the fix and flip. Those are kind of the three areas
I love it.
that I dive into. But for the actual book that I want to write, I really want to go into the life story but I mean, dig deep even into back in, 2005, the real estate boom, the crash, just the journey.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's fascinating, and I was just talking to a client about this the other day, is that, what I've seen in 25 years in this industry, it's hard to say if anybody will ever see that ever again.
Yeah. They'll see
Highs,
their
the
own
lowest
things.
lows.
Yeah, it's crazy.
They'll see cycles. They'll have cycles for sure.
Yeah.
But will anybody ever see those extremes in that? Think about 05 and 08. That was 3 years apart.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and then look at the interest rates. And I mean, there's just so many things have happened.
I love that.
And I think that it's just a really interesting journey to document. And I think that there's a lot of, life lessons and business lessons and things to be learned along the way.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, it's not like that I'm full of myself and I feel like I have the magic word. It's just that I feel like as part of my legacy that I want to at least, share,
Of course.
share what I've done, share my journey, but also share what my mindset was like and what I was thinking going through all these different things. Because, I mean, everybody can witness what happens, but nobody's really a fly on the wall in anybody else's brain. Nobody really gets to experience it from the inside. And I just think that, I don't know, I just feel like I have some invaluable experience with what I've seen and what I've done, especially over such a long period of time.
Yeah.
And especially because I've been immersed in all three fingers.
Yeah.
It's the lending, the construction, and the sales. Like this industry, the housing industry, like this has been my passion, my love, and what I've dedicated 80% of my life to, essentially.
Yeah. If you want to hear his book, the full book, when it comes out, you're going to follow him. Instagram, social media, links are down below. But also stay tuned when that chapter comes out. And talk about alignment, bro. My full book should be live by the end of Q1 of 2025.
Nice.
And last weekend, when I went out there, I spent a lot of time just to finish like the chapter 1, which is my autobiography. So just going over like my point to where I'm at. So from the conception of what I can remember to the point of interest of like, okay, this is where he left off at 38. And then I could write another one later. But just to give people context and stories. And then there's chapters that come sequentially with it. And it's all self-help. Think and Grow Rich and Napoleon Hill and that whole story, and there's like all of them, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 7 Sugars to Yes, like all the things, like exactly what to say, the 27 words to get people to do whatever you want to do. You know, the 500 podcast episodes I think I've done so far, and I mean 6,000 he's done. He must be doing it full time then if he's doing
Yeah.
6,000.
Oh yeah, that's full time for them, but that's still an incredible amount of interviews.
Yeah,
And that's not bluffing; those are real numbers.
that's amazing.
When we're offline, I'll introduce you. I'll have to connect you. I think you'd be a good person for you to know. But
Yeah, I would love that. I would love that.
But look, I mean, I think that as far as with writing your book, I think that there's different ways to go about it. Now there's apps and different things you can get help with. I mean, as far as myself, it was a collaboration between me and a ghostwriter.
Nice.
Just because, I'm a good writer, but what I found the last few years being so busy and so much going on, I get a little bit of writer's block. Like it takes me a lot of time to get it all down.
Yeah.
So I found it easier to, and I don't know, my ghostwriter's probably frustrated with me, but like
keeping it real.
We do the interview. Well, no, she's cool with me and everything, but even though she's really nice, I'm figuring that she's probably a little frustrated because like I did the interview first so she could, write it, but then she wrote it, but it didn't convey me necessarily like it should. So then I went back because she wanted me to do some edits, but my edit consisted of like almost literally rewriting everything.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that I am a good writer.
Yep.
And my style is, because I never want to have that flat out writer's block. Like remember when you're a kid and you have to write an essay and it's due tomorrow?
Yeah.
And you're like pen to paper, like shit. What I learned about myself is start putting things on paper and then start editing it. Start filling in and editing and filling in and editing. That's why I feel like I'm a really good writer. Not only do I have the creativity and I have good spelling, good grammar, but really, and I feel like I'm a good storyteller, but then where I feel like it's strong for me is the way I've learned how to write to be effective is to get it all on paper, get the rough draft, and just keep editing, filling, and just refining. Because I used to wait for like the, instant moment that everything was just going to flow, and it doesn't work that way.
You know what's helped me? ChatGPT. I basically write, and so I'll write it, and it'll be like, all this text, there's the punctuation, the spelling. I diagnosed a learning disability, tubes in my ears, held back in 3rd grade. Reading and writing is not my thing. So I'll just write all that I can. I was doing it on the plane. And then last weekend, I finally put it on my laptop and got it onto a Google Drive document. And then I went through ChatGPT and I wanted to keep the integrity of the way that I delivered it. So I just said grammar and spelling. And then it just went through and it gave me the grammar, the spelling, the punctuation, the paragraphs, everything. And it's like, it's like fucking free and shit. But yeah, man, I'm super excited to read your book, dude. And you have so much
coming out,
so much to give, dude. So much to give. I mean, if y'all, can agree. And I think the biggest thing that I took from this is that like, don't stop fighting. Keep moving forward. Like, don't feed into the self-doubt and the negative talk and you're go and you just sit there in a bed for fucking months on end to from 2 different injuries, right? So it's just like wow, and you just keep fucking moving forward, dude. So I think that's a lot about your character, your legacy. I think individuals out there too can, just one of you, right, can take things and be like, oh shit, I can keep on going.
Yeah, well, but like I said earlier, it's not easy. I mean, there's tough days. I mean, I know we can sit up here after the fact and be like, look, I did it, I made it, I got through it. But I just want to remind people that, you really have to dig deep some days. And you got to be happy with the fact that you actually got out of bed, sat at your desk for an hour, and maybe, worked on some of your prospecting or something. Maybe you didn't feel up to getting a workout in, but maybe you at least went outside and went for a walk around the block. I mean, the little wins were like even just putting in an hour doing something, and then got to a point where it's like, okay, 5 things on a notepad each day. And I would write them big, those just notepads with like college. 5 things, but I would like make them big on that page. These are the 5 things I need to accomplish today.
Amen.
That's what I graduated to. I graduated to that, and it took like this kind of progression to actually get back to like normal life. So it's not easy, but yeah, I mean, hopefully this will help someone, and this is good for me to reflect as well. I enjoy sharing the story again because reflecting on this gives me more strength to do even better now, to just, and also just to remember
Mm.
and to even have more reason to be more grateful.